All right, good morning, JCPS. We've got a really great day of episodes here on the channel, and we are starting our day off with Amanda here.
Good morning, JCPS.
And
We've
my
got
other
a really
computer
great
is
day
talking.
of episodes here.
So we've got, you said Andrea in the chat to answer questions while she's presenting. So please be sure to drop those as we're going through the day. And then linked at the bottom of this video is the schedule for the day. So if you want to check that out and see what other episodes we've got going on, you can do that too. But I'm going to give the screen to Amanda over here. And she's going to talk to us about digital token boards. And this is one that I'm excited to see today. So take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Amanda Nunley. I am an ECU resource teacher at Schaffner Traditional and Cane Run Elementary. My topic today is digital token boards. And this presentation is great for teachers that have used token boards when we were face-to-face and they're looking for a digital alternative. It's also great for teachers that want to increase engagement and provide positive reinforcement for a target behavior during online learning. And like she said, Andrea is monitoring the chat box, so if you have any questions, you can comment and we will try to answer your questions. So the definition of a token board is a system that rewards desired behaviors with tokens, which kids can exchange for something they value. It serves as a visual reminder. So to the right, you can see some examples of token boards that we've used when we were face-to-face. What you would do is the teacher will conference and establish that target behavior expectation with the student at the beginning of the day and give them like a physical token board. So that means you would have to print it out, laminate it, put some Velcro or something to make sure that the tokens are able to attach to the board. So that way the student can keep it with them. The student will pick a reward that they are trying to earn with their tokens, and then the teacher will positively reinforce that behavior by giving them a token every time the teacher observes that behavior. Well, since we are not face-to-face, it's been difficult to provide this resource for students that really benefit from it. So today I'm going to show you how Jamboard is a great resource that you all can create and use token boards even when we're virtual.
Excuse me.
So why Jamboard? Jamboard, to the right, you can see an example of using Jamboard for a token board. Up in the top left corner where it says Mystery Hero, that would be a token bank. And I'll talk more about that and show you how to do that in a minute. But that would be a token bank. And then you can see the circles are the placeholders for the token, so the student can see how close they are to their goal. And you would just drag the tokens from the token bank down to the placeholder. The reason why Jamboard is awesome to use for this is because it's so customizable to meet your specific student, their needs and their interests. You can change the theme as often as you like, and it's updated very quickly. So that makes it engaging for students because it's not just a star that they're trying to earn. They can earn something, an image that they enjoy, something that they like. So it makes it gives them more buy-in and more excitement and more engagement. It's also digital, but still tangible. And what I mean by that is Jamboard has a share button, and when you select that button, it gives you the option to copy the link. You can enable to copy the link. When you conference with your student at the beginning of the day, you can paste the link of the Jamboard in the Google Meet chat box and set the expectation just as I explained earlier. And then as you are teaching that student during the Google Meet, you can prompt the student to visit their Jamboard when you observe that target behavior, and they can drag their token down. And because it's a collaborative workspace, you are going to be able to see on your screen that student dragging their token down, and vice versa. If you wanted to drag the token for them to show them that they're doing an amazing job at that target behavior, they're going to be able to see you giving them that token. So there's endless options for when you're using a Jamboard as a token system, because you are able to pick so many different images. The top is an example of rainbows. So you don't just have to give, if a student really loves rainbows, you just don't have to give them the same little picture of a rainbow every time. You can put a lot of different, have a variety to make it more engaging for the student. Below that is a Pokemon token board for a student that might love Pokemon. And what makes that engaging is you can load your token bank with, like, the kids will tell you there's hundreds of Pokemon, and you can just pull down a different Pokemon every time that they show that target behavior, and that's super engaging for the student. My students like to work for a video clip at the end of the lesson. So one of my students that love Pokemon, when he gets all of his Pokemon tokens, then I let him watch like a 3-minute clip of Pokemon, and that's a way to keep them focused and engaged throughout our lesson. Something else to increase engagement is adding a surprise factor, and I'll show you how to do this in a minute. But you can add I call them post-its on Jamboard that'll cover up the tokens, so when the student is trying to earn a token, they do not know what they're going to earn. So it's a surprising and engaging component, because they get excited, because we'll talk, because I'll let a little bit of it peek out and we'll say, what do you think's hiding behind the post-it note, and it creates a conversation, and it makes it more exciting for them to guess what they might earn that day. So the best part about all of this is there's only about 5 steps to take to create a Jamboard token board, and as I mentioned previously, that it's super easy to switch it out and change it up as often as you like. So the first step is to open Jamboard, and you can find it in your waffle on Google, and it looks like that yellow circle with that orange rectangle. The next step is to add a title. I love how Jamboard has that really simple tool on the side, that tool menu. All you do is just click the text box and type it in. You can make it as big or as small as you like. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can be as simple or as involved as you like. They already have a tool to add shapes, so I just stick with the circles and keep it simple. You can add as many circles or placeholders for the tokens as you like, depending on what your students' needs are. If they need more positive reinforcement, you might want to add more. If you think that they could get through a lesson with less, you can do less. I like to use my token board for the entire week, so I put 5 placeholders, and I let them try to earn 1 token a day, because our meetings are maybe 30 minutes long, and my students are able to stay engaged for 30 minutes with earning the token at the end of the meeting. My favorite part about Jamboard is that they have a Google image search directly inside of the program. So all you do is you click the picture icon on the left, and then when it's time to select the file, you can choose Google image search. Here I just search superhero, and you can pick a superhero and then just repeat those 2 steps as often as necessary until you get all of the tokens that you like. And I love that, because you do not have to scour the internet for images and download them to your computer. You can search and insert right in the Jamboard. An optional thing that isn't really in your traditional token board is adding some mystery. So over on the left, that I call it the post-it icon, or the sticky note icon, whatever you would like to call it. I click on it and I type mystery hero, or whatever the theme is that they're trying to earn that week. You have to do this step last, because Jamboard layers images. So if you were to click on the sticky note first, it would be your tokens would cover it up. So you make sure to do this part last. And what you can do is have your token bank, put the sticky over it. I like to let you kind of need to let the picture peek out a little bit, so that way your mouse can drag the picture out to place in the placeholder. But it's also fun because you can prompt your students and say, who do you think is behind the mystery hero curtain? And you can build that excitement and engagement. So the final result would look like this. It's very simple. I don't want it to be too flashy because the whole point is the token. So I want the token to be the most exciting thing on the Jamboard. I really enjoy doing this with my students. My students really like it, almost to the point where the token is the reward. And I hope you guys were able to learn something from this. Hope it was useful to you, and I hope you're able to continue to use token boards even though we are virtual. And if you have any questions, please comment, and Andrea can answer your questions in the chat box or the comment box.
Thanks so much, Amanda. I think these are so cute. I put a comment in the chat that I would love to use this mystery idea for like a writing prompt and have the little thing peeking out and try to guess what it is. And that would be really cool.
That would be cool. That's an awesome idea.
But I think we don't have any questions in the chat from Andrea. She held it down. But if there's anything anybody has, go ahead and drop a question for Amanda. And I wanted to thank her for coming on and being vulnerable and sharing her great idea. I think it's awesome, and it's going to be super great for all of you that are KCAN2 people. This is really cool for our primary kiddos. They need something to keep them going because it's very difficult to sit in front of a screen all day, as we know. Right. Anything else, Amanda, before we let you go?
No, just thank you so much for the opportunity to present, and I hope everybody has a great day today.
All right. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, guys, let's check in on our hashtag on Twitter. We have pinned our new uploading backpack video. It is only 4 minutes long, and it is perfect to show your students, new teachers. There are some new elements for putting those artifacts in your backpacks that we went over. But what you can do is click on that, or you can join us later today for our backpack refresher episode. And be sure to use the hashtag JCPS backpack with all your tweets, sharing out what your emerging innovators and productive collaborators are doing. We've got lots of Minecraft going on as well, which I'm pumped about. I know Kathleen and I are in the it's not a club. We're in the cohort together right now, getting certified. It is a lot of fun, and we are learning a lot. So let's look at the hashtag really quick. And if you ever lose it, it's always on our profile. I like to click it. I put it in my Twitter profile so I can just click it anytime I need to. And it looks like our Barker Fink crew did the same thing, so they can grab it. So as you tweet out what you're doing, be sure to not have your student faces or first and last names on there so that we can like and retweet, just so we can be safe for those kiddos. So we've got stuff with our backpack artifacts. We're really into that. And our refresher later today at 1:30. But if you can't join us, you can watch it later. So we're going to look at the calendar. Up next, we have PPE basics for COVID-19 with our health services. Later, I'm excited to learn more about SMART with our Amy's and Kathleen, and then more PPE from health services. We've got Jim coming later for more Minecraft. He's going to be in the chat to answer questions. And then we have FEV tutor later, and then lunch. So we have about 15 minutes, And I'm going to pop into the channel and show you guys a quick video. Students, I'm going to walk you guys through how the JCPS backpack platform looks this year so you can upload your artifacts. So once you're in your Google Drive, you can access your backpack through JCPS quick links by clicking on the backpack link, or you can go to your waffle and scroll down to that backpack icon. That's my favorite way. Once you're in there, your home page is going to look like this, and we're going to go to artifacts to add artifacts to our skill folders. What you're going to do is go to that gray add button, and you can choose a file from your device or your Google Drive, and you're going to find that file you're going to upload, and you're going to press select. After that, it will prompt you to choose the academic year. You want to make sure that you're in 2021, obviously, and then you're going to choose the skills that your artifact correlates with. You're going to click OK, and your artifact is going to pop up at the top. Some really great things you can do with the platform this year is select your tag skill through one drop-down menu. So whichever ones you've chosen, you can quickly go in between as you're writing your reflection. So you're going to use that pencil and you're going to type your reflection in the box, and then you're going to reflect on each of those tag skills. So you're going to select your skill, prepared and resilient learner, and you're going to write your reflection in there. And just as before, it's going to have this really great pop-up and ask yourself some questions so that you can have a great reflection for each of your artifacts. So once you've gone through and written your reflections for all of those, it's going to automatically save. It will tell you if it's updated down at the bottom and how many words you've used. So another great thing is over here on your snowman, you can rename your artifact. You can edit your backpack skill tags. You can remove it from the 2021 year, and then you can refresh your data. So I really like the rename tool because a lot of times you're going to get copy of, or it will be called something that your teacher has named it, but you can make it personal to yourself. So if this was about science, you could say science 3rd grade report, or whatever you have named it, pop that in there. And that'll clean up your backpack and make it look really professional. So another thing that happens when you start a new school year is your artifacts from the previous years are going to get archived. If you need to access those as you're reflecting on your work from previous years, you can go up to the academic year and toggle in between those years and check out your previous uploaded artifacts and edit those if you need to. So you're going to stay in the 2021 school year and upload that way. Thanks for watching.
A high school digital innovation leader here in JCPS, and today we're going to talk about uploading backpack artifacts from your phone. So you can see on my phone screen, I have my cute little dog Pip in there, and we are going to go to the Google Chrome app, which I already have downloaded. So we're going to click there. And what we're going to do, so you guys don't have to see any of my personal info, we are going to go create a new incognito tab. You can just do a normal tab for yourself, but I'm going to do an incognito one so you can see me go through the sign-in process. So in my search bar, I am going to type in jcps.me/backpack, and we're going to go there now. I'm going to log in with G Suite, just like you would, and I'm going to use my student tester account. So I use my @student.jefferson account to log in, and I'm actually going to select all, and I'm going to copy that line of text. That way when I log in via Microsoft in just a second, I don't have to type that whole thing back in. So now it brings me to JCPS Office. I'm going to hold down and paste. That way I don't have to type out my email again. It's a pro tip for you. And I'm going to type my password in. Now when I click sign in, you will see that I am in the JCPS backpack. Now, I can see everything here that I usually would. I can see the JCPS choice boards from NTI. I can see Clever. I can see the Student Success Tracker. I can see showcases, and I can see artifacts. So let's go to artifacts, and now you can see that I have full access to these artifacts just like I would on a computer. For school year 2021, I want to add a new artifact, and I'm going to pick something from a file. So let's click on File, and I'm going to select a file from my device. I'm going to go to Photo Library. Now, I'm going to be a prepared and resilient learner. I've learned how to cook some meals over the summer, and I'm going to click on my eggplant parmesan. I'm going to click Done, and you'll see that when I click Upload, there we go. My photo is uploaded, and I have selected that I am a prepared and resilient learner. I'm going to click OK. And so what you'll see down here is something that we encourage all students to fill out as they upload their artifacts. Describe the learning experiences that led to this artifact. So I learned how to cook. And this is up to your school on how this is filled in. It's up to how it aligns with your backpack plan as well. And I could type in there whatever I need to in order to explain how me learning how to cook eggplant parmesan applies to prepared and resilient learner. And that is how you upload artifacts to the JCPS backpack from your phone. I did this on an iPhone, but the process will be very similar on an Android. You just go to Google Chrome, you go to the backpack, you sign in as a student, and then you select your artifacts to upload. Thank you. Have a great day.
My name is Michelle Brown, and today we'll be discussing identifying every single one of your at-risk students. The purpose of the System 2 dashboard is to identify students who are at risk for not graduating on time so that targeted, individualized additional supports can be provided. This program calculates the risk using predictive analytics in 13 years worth of historical data gathered from each individual school. The risk is developed by Bright Bites in conjunction with the American Institutes of Research. Demographic factors are not included in the calculation of risk, but only intended for data analysis and disaggregation. Data is collected using 13 years of historical student data gathered from each individualized school. Data includes performance such as grades, courses, credits, and assessment scores, attendance, which include absences and tardies, and behavior data. How do I access the dashboard? It's simple. The dashboard is accessed through the JCPS backpack or through the JCPS quick links under your URL bar. If you are not already logged into your Google account, you will then be asked to log in using your JCPS credentials. Once inside the backpack, you will choose Dashboard. After you get into the dashboard, you will click on Data. A panel will drop down where you will then choose Student Success. Here we see the Student Success screen. This is the main dashboard that we will be using. Here we can analyze performance, attendance, and behavior data of all of your students as well as individualized students at your school. These analytics show the risk factor of performance, attendance, and behavior results. Today we will be using false data as we go through this presentation. When we look at this chart, what does it mean in the performance area? It shows that when looking at current students, 323 students are at high risk not to graduate on time, 300 students are at medium risk to not graduate on time, 107 students are at low risk to not graduate on time, and 8 students do not have enough data to calculate their risk. These students who are at risk in the performance area are not necessarily the same 250 students who are at high risk for attendance or the same 134 students who are at risk in the behavior section. There is probably an overlap, but not all are the same students. The attendance risk is updated every day. The performance and behavior risk are updated once a month. This model is retrained every 6 months due to new programs and all efforts that you are making to improve their performance. As we scroll down the screen, you will see the high school graduation rate in areas of opportunities. Under areas of opportunity, some may see attendance, while others may see behavior, and some may see performance. It just depends on your school analytics. Scrolling on down, the student success page displays your school's demographic factors. Even though these are not included in the calculation for risk, these factors are only intended for data analysis and disaggregation. We will now go into a little bit more deeper detail on the dashboard. If we scroll back up, we will look at the top of the main dashboard. You will see that the pink shows the percentages and how many students are at high risk for not graduating on time. The orange shows those students who are at a medium risk for not graduating on time. The green shows those students who are at a low risk for not graduating on time. And the gray indicates whose risk is unavailable as they do not have enough data to calculate the risk factor. To drill on in or to see more in-depth information, we will click on the View Performance tab. Here we see the performance screen and are viewing coursework, such as current courses GPA is displayed here. You can view advanced coursework, assessments, and other information. From this level, you can also view at-risk students for current courses GPA at risk. All students will display going from the most at risk to those who are least at risk. Teachers will only see those students who are rostered into their courses. From this level, you will also be able to view each student's individual performance, attendance, and behavior based upon the past 13 years worth of data compared to similar students at their school. As this screen does not contain real data, there is no students for me to display to you. We will click back upon the success at the top left where we can see trends. Trends displays a graph for us to see how your group of students.
All right, we're going to go check in our Hangout and see if, oh, hello.
There.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. We have like 2 minutes, but you can get prepped and ready to go and introduce yourself. We were just playing a video to fill in some time in between.
Oh, okay.
No worries.
All right. So how about we try me sharing my screen?
Absolutely. If you go up into the top right corner.
Oh, wait a minute. I hit the wrong share. I'll hit present instead of share if that's
No worries.
Okay. And we want closed captioning on, I believe.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is that good?
Not yet. We still just see you.
All right. So let's try and figure that out.
It's okay. Well, I mean, I don't care. We can watch you the whole time, but I'm sure you worked hard on your presentation.
Slides. How about now?
Go make sure you're in the Hangout tab, like come back and look at me and you, or you and I, and then up in the right corner. Are you on 2 screens as well?
Yes.
Okay.
There we go.
Yay, you did it. Awesome.
Okay, and closed captions is on, I think.
Yep, and then just press that little hide button. So that'll
Gotcha.
go away. Yay, looks great. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks. So we're ready to go. Well, good morning. I'm going to talk about PPE or personal protective equipment, COVID-19, and back to school. And saying back to school, just know there's not any date set for return to school. Just trying to have some discussions now while we're still in the planning stages. We are still, if you haven't seen the state rubric that outlines colors of green, yellow, orange, and red. Red is an incidence of above 25 cases per 100,000, and we were over 40 yesterday. So we still have a pretty high incidence going on in our area. And when we're in red, the recommendation is to be doing remote learning. But when we do return, or when we are working around each other, or just generally with COVID and use of PPE, the overall approach is to minimize the risk of infection, and that's through multiple mitigation measures. And so the mitigation measures are the things that we do to help prevent COVID-19 infection. And everything that we do adds a layer of protection. And so I want to say that, and I'll say it multiple times when we're talking through this today, that each measure that we add on, and some people will call it the Swiss cheese model. You know, the Swiss cheese model, there's holes in the cheese, but they're not in the same spot on every slice. And so when you put them all on top of each other, there's you can't look through those holes. And this is the same kind of approach. Everything we do is another level of protection for ourselves, our children, and families. So I think we all know, but just to cover the basics, the COVID-19 is a coronavirus, and that's an illness that's caused by a virus that can spread from person to person. Coronaviruses have been around for a long time. Coronavirus itself isn't new. You'll remember at the start of the pandemic, they talked about novel coronavirus. It was a new coronavirus. And so the reason that it's COVID-19 is because the virus was discovered in 2019. It's an illness that's caused by this virus that can spread from person to person. Right now, we know that it's spread mainly through respiratory droplets and short-range aerosols when an infected person coughs, sneezes, or talks in close proximity to others. And so that's what the masking is to help prevent from happening. The recommendation, of course, is that we're 6 feet apart to help reduce the spread of that virus. But we know that if somebody is singing or really projecting, talking loudly, or yelling, then that distance would want to be a little greater, because those droplets can actually travel a little further when they're projected out that way. And then touching infected surfaces, objects, and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth are ways that that virus is transmitted. So the mitigation strategies that the state guidance has spelled out for us, and this is also from the Centers for Disease Control, which is what our state leaders used to develop these guidelines, are social distancing, cloth face coverings, policies and personal protective equipment, screening and school exclusion, sanitation and environmental factors, and then contact tracing, all as measures to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. So social distancing. Social distancing is goes back to the spread of the droplets through respiratory routes that I was discussing. So the recommendation is that we maintain 6 feet of social distancing as much as possible, because this is one of the primary ways that we can prevent the spread of COVID-19. So all of our schools have already developed preliminary plans, and social distancing are included in those plans. And then, of course, when we're back to school, and as we're planning to go back to school, individual classroom needs will be taken into account. So, of course, the district is in the process of finding out those parents that are going to enroll their kids in virtual school versus those at in-person learning. And then when you know those numbers of students that are coming back, then plans can be kind of undertaken to look at the feasibility of social distancing and how to best maintain social distancing while at school. Social distancing is the factor that determines when people need to self-quarantine when exposed to a case of COVID-19. So what I mean by that is that if I am around somebody who tests positive for COVID, there are several things that the contact tracers look at, and they look at, where were you? What kind of work were you doing? What kind of activities were you doing? Were people wearing masks? Was social distancing happening? And so we can have a situation where people might all have had masks on, but they were in close proximity. And the trigger for self-isolation when exposed to COVID-19 is the social distancing piece. If people are able to maintain that social distance of 6 feet or more, then you're less likely to need to self-quarantine if you've been exposed to a case. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So cloth face coverings are expected for all students and staff unless eating or drinking or medical waiver is on file. So when the original guidance document came out from the Department of Education and the Department for Public Health, I think the initial draft was in June, there was the mask recommendation was for students in first grade and above, and kids younger than that didn't have a mask requirement. They have since updated those recommendations. The CDC has updated their recommendations, and the state subsequently updated theirs. And so in JCPS, all students and staff will be expected to wear a mask unless they're eating or drinking, or if there's a medical waiver on file. There will be people who have medical conditions that make it difficult to wear a mask. And so there is a flag in Infinite Campus that will actually denote whether students have mask waivers, and there's an ad hoc report that's available to run for those students. And in the school plans, the school's designated somebody who is responsible for collecting and entering those mask waivers into Infinite Campus. There are additional needs for personal protective equipment for different circumstances, and we'll talk about that. So screening and school exclusion. Staff health checks should be completed each day, and this, again, is from the guidance document that we've received from the state. Since this document was written, the Centers for Disease Control have come out with some additional statements about temperature checks, but Kentucky is not changing their guidance on the requirement for temperature checks for students and staff when they arrive at school. So students will have a temperature check when they arrive at school. The kids who ride buses parents will be asked to sign a form that states that they agree that they're not going to send their kids to school if they have a temperature greater than 100.4, but the temperature check is required when they arrive at the school building. And then all parents will be given information asking them basically to check their kids for symptoms and not send them to school if they're ill. Again, anyone with a temperature greater than 100.4 will be excluded from school. Realize that these infrared thermometers that all the schools have been supplied are surface temperature. They check surface temperature. And so they're not as accurate as oral digital thermometers. And that's significant because you can have somebody sitting in the car, and this has actually happened. A kid gets to school in the car, heat's blasting on them. They get to school, roll up, the temperature check's done, and they're hot. And so their temperature registers higher than it really is. And so the recommendation with these type of thermometers is that they sit in a cooler environment and recheck after we have in the plans after 10 minutes to see if their temperature has come back down to normal. And I actually had this happen, was checking temperatures for an event the district was happening, and someone came in, had come across the parking lot, was in a hurry to get there, and came in, temperature registered high on the thermometer, had them sit, rechecked it, and it was back down to normal. There will be information, training video for people for use of these thermometers, but also it's very important to look at the thermometer and the instructions, because some of them have to acclimate to the environment they're in, or you can get falsely elevated high or low readings. Students obviously shouldn't come to school, staff as well, if they have a fever or other COVID symptoms. But they can come back to school when they're fever-free for 24 hours. So sanitation environmental factors are another set of mitigation measures. Hand hygiene, hand washing, and the use of hand sanitizer is very important. So historically in JCPS, hand sanitizer has not been allowed. And last year, that policy was updated to allow students access to hand sanitizer. Students can carry small bottles of hand sanitizer. It should be gel or foam. You do not want to have, when the pandemic first started, lots of places made great volumes of hand sanitizer and donated those to businesses. They're very liquid. You don't want to have those around students or in classrooms. Those need to be used in other areas where kids won't have access to them. But hand washing and the use of these sanitizers is very important. High touch areas in the schools, doorknobs, those areas that are frequently used should have those surfaces wiped off frequently during the day, and then plans are being worked out for each school related to the cleaning and disinfecting. So then contact tracing. So you've probably heard a lot about contact tracing, and if you've listened to the governor, you'll hear the governor talk a lot about contact tracing as a measure to help prevent the spread of COVID. So what that looks like, just in general, is that the state has given money to health departments to contract with agencies to help with contact tracing. In Jefferson County, it's a company called Deloitte. Other areas, other health departments around the state and other counties may have set up through different programs. But you've probably heard the messages, take the call, answer the call. And so these contact tracers, when a case is required by law that anyone who has a positive case of COVID-19 report that to the health department. So the lab and the healthcare provider both are obligated to report that to the health department. When that information goes to the health department, then the health department follows up on those cases. Right now in Jefferson County, there are so many cases. The health department has to prioritize who is most at risk and who they would reach out to first. And so there are instances where people may be past the point of being contagious before somebody actually reaches out to them. So it's important to know that the effectiveness of contact tracing is very dependent upon the volume of need. And so it's very difficult when there's a large amount of cases for contact tracing to work real well. But again, it's one of those tools that we have to prevent spread. So in JCPS, we have a contact tracing plan for within the district. And so if you haven't seen that, there's a Google Doc that's available. Just search the drive for JCPS contact tracing plan. You can access that document. So in that guidance document, not only are providers and labs required to report positive COVID cases to their local health department and to the state, we as a school district are required to report any reported cases to the health department. And now we're also required to report those to the state. So what that means is when we, as part of this contact tracing plan, there is a reportable disease form that needs to be filled out when a parent or a staff member tells you that they are a positive contact for COVID-19 or a positive case of COVID-19. We're actually also now required to report anybody who says they are a contact to a case of COVID-19. Less of a concern if we're not in person. It is a concern for those people who are working on site right now, but less of a concern for our kids, for example, who are doing NTI now. But when we all return to in-person learning, we're going to be required to report both cases and contacts to the health department, and we have to do a daily report for the state. And so every day we report on about almost 170 sites. We have to report how many reported cases of COVID we have in staff, how many reported cases in students, how many reported contacts in staff, how many reported contacts in students. And so that's a lot of work to keep up with. It'll be even more work when more people are back together. So we're working very closely with the health department to help develop plans to make sure that process is in place and is solid in Jefferson County. And we're trying to improve things along the way as we go. So again, a lot of work. There is a plan in place. Contact tracing is great. But for example, yesterday I had a phone call. Somebody was tested for COVID-19, got their test results 2 weeks later. Well, if you get the test results 2 weeks later, that person is past the point of where they're considered infectious to other people. So tests that take 2 weeks to get results back don't help us a whole lot in prevention, particularly if it's somebody who is not having symptoms. They just decided to have COVID testing done. And so that's where it gets a little tricky. But again, work's underway to get all those processes ironed out. And testing is a lot better. We're getting results are coming back a lot quicker. So that's the exception now, not the rule. So then I'm going to reiterate these points, minimize our environmental risk and those social distancing as far away as we can stay away from other people. That's very significant. Cloth face coverings, the masking is important as far as prevention goes. The screening and school exclusion, sanitation and environmental factors, and contact tracing. And when we do have more people back together, that response time for this is very important. We have groups of people that are back to work. They have been back to work. Our nutrition services staff has been working all along to feed kids and do a very good job of trying to maintain these measures to help prevent spread within the facilities. So we use personal protective equipment, especially when the risk of exposure is higher. So again, students 2 and older can wear cloth face coverings. We want these coverings to securely cover the nose and mouth. Practicing and modeling will increase success. And staff should use additional personal protective equipment for procedures that might increase the risk for exposure, and we'll talk about that. So for social distancing, we want to space desks out in classrooms as much as possible. We want to note and mark areas where students may congregate. So schools have submitted plans to do this, and a lot of that, there are decals that can be ordered from materials and production to put in those high traffic areas where you want to note 6 feet increments so people know, just like we're seeing in the stores. When you go to the store and there's markings on the floor that let you know how far apart you need to stand, that remind us of what 6 feet of distance is. And then plans for meals and plans for recess. Schools have all submitted plans for what they think breakfast and lunch can look like in the schools to help promote social distancing. And then what at the level of the classroom, people will want to plan for recess and making sure that kids can be socially distant. And I do want to say masks, again, within the buildings, masks must be on unless a student is eating or drinking. So cloth face masks, all students and staff should be wearing masks unless there's a medical waiver on file. Masks should have 2 or more layers. So you'll see people a lot wearing these gaiters that come up over the mouth. And they should only be, if they're utilized, they should be folded down so there's 2 layers. But masks with 2 layers, we know for sure that people wearing masks helps prevent projection of respiratory droplets to other people. And there's evidence that shows that it's also protective for me myself when I wear my mask to help protect me from respiratory droplets from other people. The mask should cover your nose and mouth and be secured under your chin. I'm going to use my lovely parents as an example of what not to do. They're dear, dear people, but my mother wears her mask, and they live in a little tiny town in West Virginia. And so when I go to see them and I've taken her to Walmart, her mask will be down below her nose, and she'll tell me, I'm like, Mom, you need to pull your mask up over your nose. And she just, tatas me and tells me she's fine. And if it's not under her nose, it's under her chin. She and my dad laugh and call it a chin strap. My dad, who's a very high-risk person, I have watched him, begged him to wear an N95, to have a little more protection when they go to church, which they do every Sunday. And what he does is tells me, no, you don't know what you're talking about, wears his mask. When he talks to somebody, he pulls it down so he can talk to them, which completely defeats the point of wearing a mask. But that is examples of what not to do with the mask wearing. It should be covering your nose and your mouth. I like the masks that have the little metal piece that you can kind of fold down over your nose, because that is supposed to help prevent glasses from fogging up. And it actually just helps secure that mask so that it's not moving up and down when you're talking. And again, masks should not be worn by children younger than 2, people who have trouble breathing, or people who can't take the mask off without assistance. One other time we don't want masks worn is when our little ones, our early childhood students, nap. The mask should come off when they're napping, and they've developed some great plans where students will actually be sleeping head to foot so that they won't have as close contact. We don't wear masks typically that are intended for healthcare workers, for example, N95 respirators. Now, there are N95 masks generally available, like that will have available in the district when they're needed, that are N95 masks, but they're not hospital grade. They're industrial grade N95s. And those are sufficient for our use. And actually, that's the recommendation from the CDC. That's the type of N95 masks. And that's really all we have been able to secure, because they're diverting all medical grade N95 masks to hospitals. CDC does not recommend the use of face shields alone. And so that's important, because you will see people, I see people all the time that just have face shields on. Now, there are people who can't wear masks that might just wear a face shield, but a face shield is open around the bottom. And so if I'm infected and I'm talking to you, those respiratory droplets can just come up and under that face shield. And so they don't know how well face shields alone would protect people from those respiratory droplets. That may change, because this is all a work in progress, and guidance has changed a lot even from the very beginning of this. But at this point, their effectiveness is being studied, and it's not recommended that you wear a face shield without a mask unless you have to. Or you could be like a gentleman I saw at the store one day, had his face shield on upside down. So it was like the part that stuck out was up here and it came down that way. And somehow I just felt like that was almost funneling germs down toward his mouth. But that's what he chose to wear. So, okay, so again, you want to choose masks that have 2 or more layers of washable, breathable fabric. It needs to completely cover the nose and mouth and fit snugly against the side of your face. Don't choose masks that are made of fabric that makes it hard to breathe, for example, vinyl. Don't choose masks that have the exhalation valves, which I've seen quite a few people have, because that allows particles, virus droplets, to get out through those valves, and they can infect other people if you were to be positive. And then don't choose masks that are intended for healthcare workers, including the N95 respirators or surgical masks. The gaiter, if you wear a gaiter, fold it so that there's 2 layers. And not just one, because you need to have 2 layers. And again, evaluation is ongoing, but the effectiveness of face shields alone is not known at this time. And we talked about glasses. Find a mask that fits snugly and that can help limit fogging of the glasses. Again, wash your hands before you put on a mask, and don't touch the mask when you're wearing it as much as possible. Sometimes masks are actually a good reminder for us not to touch our faces. How not to wear a mask, and this is my parents' example. My My mom would be the under your nose, and then my dad would be only on your chin when you're talking to people. But anyway, these are the ways not to wear masks. Now, when you take off a mask, either if it's a tie string, you untie the strings. Most of the masks I've seen now are loop masks, handled only by the ear loops or ties. You don't want to be touching the front of it. Fold the outside corners together, and then be careful not to touch your eyes, nose, and mouth when you're taking off your mask. And wash your hands after you take it off. Masks should be washed regularly. Always remove masks correctly and wash your hands after handling or touching it. Include your mask with your regular laundry. I just throw my masks in with other clothes that I'm washing. It can be washed with regular laundry detergent. Again, these are not the disposable masks. These are the cloth masks. Use the warmest water setting you can and the highest heat setting for drying. There is a video, if you do the JCPS channel and Ask a Nurse, there's been a video updated in the spring on hand washing that's available that can be shown to classes as well. So other ways to protect yourself, I can't say that as much as you can social distance, stay 6 feet away from people, wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds, or use hand sanitizer, and then practice everyday preventive actions. Gloves, you'll see people a lot, or I see people a lot out just wearing gloves, kind of shopping or doing their everyday activities. And typically, though, gloves aren't really doing anybody any favors at that time, because what people do is they put gloves on and they leave them on, and then they touch their face. And so the whole point of wearing gloves, again, is to prevent that from happening. So the hand hygiene, the hand washing, and the hand sanitizer is more important than having the gloves on, unless you're doing a specialized procedure where gloves typically would be indicated. We talked about face shields. That's just an example. You can see that they're open at the bottom. Face shields. Don't replace cloth face coverings unless there's a medical waiver, and can be used in addition to cloth face masks as an extra protection. Staff will all be provided 2 face shields to wear, and can choose to wear in addition to a cloth face mask. And that's significant to remember, because you'll see a lot when you go out in public plexiglass. You know, they've put these plexiglass dividers up. That principle is the same as what a face shield would provide you. So a face shield provides eye protection and that barrier, which is similar to what you would see, again, in a checkout line at a grocery store. Face shields are reusable, so they can be cleaned. They can be wiped off and reused. Gowns are generally not indicated in a school setting unless the procedure is being performed where splashing may occur. And those are some of the special procedures that some of our students need. But just as a general rule, gowns are not indicated. And so finally, just in ordering personal protective equipment is being stocked at the central warehouse, and schools should follow their standard ordering processes. So all of the schools have care packages or packages of PPE that, if they've not already been delivered, they will be delivered prior to the start of return to learning, of return to in-person learning. There will be a document coming out that will give people specific directions for ordering PPE and when it's indicated, and just so that will be coming out for the schools. Ordering should be done through the bookkeepers, or following the general ordering processes followed by the school. Masks, gowns, gloves, clear masks for people who might be providing therapy services. Speech therapists, as an example, or staff who are working with students who are hard of hearing, can order clear face masks from the warehouse. There's also, of course, in addition to the face shields, thermometers, shoe covers. Shoe covers really aren't indicated for the CDC, by the CDC, for anything that we're doing in the schools, but there will be a supply available at the warehouse. And there will be both disposable gowns and reusable gowns for some of our staff who are performing procedures on a regular basis. And with that, if there are any questions, I can take those now.
So I don't see any questions in the chat, but I think we had a lot of great information. Gloria said thank you. I don't know if that was to you or a shout out or what, but great info, and thank you so much for joining us. Do you have anything else you need to share?
Well, I just want to say, if anybody ever has any questions, has questions about contact tracing, has questions about next steps, what to do, just call Health Services office, and that's 485-3387. But we will be glad to do whatever we can. We're doing contact tracing. I've got a COVID team that's working on contact tracing, that does contact tracing for our staff who are back to work now. We want to help. We want to support. We're all learning, and so we just need to help each other through this. And we're going to be dealing with this for years to come. It's not going to be a vaccine we're over. And so we're all going to have to learn how to live in this new normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, and have a great week.
Thanks. You all too.
Bye. All right, up next, we've got our two Amy's and Kathleen, plus it looks like a special guest. Mr. Durham is in here too, ready to talk about SMART. So I don't know who's driving, but let me know.
Yeah, that's going to be me.
Okay,
hi, my name is Amy Lynch, and I'm the director of the education team for North America. Excited to be here today. And I brought another Amy with me. Amy, do you want to introduce yourself?
I do. Good morning. I'm Amy Barnes. I am the Education Solutions Consultant for Kentucky now. So it's nice to meet you guys.
Yes, awesome. So I can go ahead and share my screen. I believe I have permission for that. So let me do that. And my entire screen and share. Okay, cool. All right, so I think I'm in, and I know we're on a tight schedule. Are you guys seeing my screen?
We can. Just press that little hide button, and if you can turn on CCs with that program you're using. If not, it's okay.
I am not sure I'm able to do that.
That's totally fine. We're good to go if you're ready.
Okay, awesome. Sounds good. Well, we can go ahead and get started. Again, thank you all for joining us. We are going to talk today about what is Smart Learning Suite. So Smart Learning Suite is a great tool to use whether you're in the classroom or whether you're not in the classroom. If you're following along with us today, I would love for you to join our session. You can jump out to hellosmart.com and type in my class ID, which is 367098. And Amy, if you want to throw that in the chat too, in case we have any late joiners, that would be awesome. And you can sign in as a guest. Don't worry about signing in as a as a particular student with your ID. We're not going to assign homework here today, so we don't. A guest is totally fine. So we'll wait a few minutes for people to sign in. And Amy, if you wouldn't mind signing in as a student as well, that'd be great. And so again, this is what the students are going to see when they join a class. And this is a static ID for you. So as a teacher, you're not going to have to worry about this changing. You can post it somewhere and your students will always have access to it. It will remember it on their devices as well. So again, makes it easy for them to sign in and get connected. I see we've got one student logged in here today. We've got a couple students. Awesome. And I'll leave that up there for just a few more seconds. It's in the chat, I believe. Amy, can you confirm it's in the chat for me?
I dropped it in the chat for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on here. So everyone's joined my session. That's awesome. Let's go ahead and go through what are we going to accomplish today. So for the next 30 minutes, if we're successful with our time, we're going to be able to create a SMART account. You'll be able to smartify an existing file in Google Drive. You'll be able to add an activity to it, learn how to deliver that lesson, and then of course be able to access resources for after today. So you can expand your learning or go back and do some reviewing. So let's go ahead and move on. So as we get started, quick little workspace, and I'm going to pop us all into one team here. So if you're following along on your devices, what I'd like for you to do is actually be able to put a little X. So there's a text box over here. You can pick your favorite color if you want, and put an X where you feel your skill level is with Smart Notebook, Smart Learning Suite Online, and Google Drive. So we're working in a collaborative space. This is a great way for me within the software to see where my students are at, how they're feeling. We're working collaboratively. We're all using mice today, so we're, it's not a touch device. That's okay. Cool. So we're getting some thoughts here, some superstars with Google Drive, which is awesome. Love it. And I'm going to go ahead and move on. Now, you see I'm pacing you through this lesson. I could put you in student pace, and I'll do that in a little bit, but I want everyone to follow me at this point. So why was I asking about Google Drive? Why does that matter? You can do this from Google Drive. So what we're going to talk about today is how you get this started. There is, let me grab my pen tool. There is a Smart Learning Suite app built directly into Google Drive. So yes, you can do this with all of your existing workflows. It's really easy for you to create, save, share, all from Drive. So how do you enhance your current lessons? Now that you know you can take your existing stuff, how does it make your lessons enhanced, or how does it enhance your lessons? What we're gonna do next is actually take you through a view of a student. So we have a lovely lesson here today called Characteristics of Life. And we're going to put on, I don't know what grade level this is, maybe it's 4th grade. We're gonna go a spiraling curriculum, so it could also be different grade levels, but we're gonna talk today about the characteristics of life. So get ready, put your student hats on. You'll get a chance to experience what this is like from a student side for the next maybe 5 minutes. Now, before I show you that, I actually have it was a Google Doc, right? So a Google slide here, I'm just pacing through it. Normally what you might be doing on a Google Hangout is sharing your screen, talking your students through this, having them work through some of these things. We're gonna talk about how we can take this and make it even more interactive. So what we're going to do, and what I did, was I actually took this Characteristics of Life, you can see it right here, and I chose to open that with Smart Learning Suite. So when you do that, I'm not going to do it now, when you do that, it actually creates a new file here for you, and it gives you this little circle icon. So you can see my Characteristics of Life is right here, and that's actually what I'm going to open up for us. Now on your end, because you're already logged into my file, what that's going to do once it loads, it will refresh on the student screen. So really cool, they don't have to sign in, sign back out. I can drive and change my lessons whenever I'd like. So again, you can see I'm putting you all into my, where did it go? My Characteristics of Life that has been smartified. So Amy, I'm gonna pause. I've talked a lot. Are there any questions in the chat? Anything I should clarify?
There's no questions yet that I see.
No, I think this is great. And another thing I want to point out, and I know you mentioned it, but this is already in every JCPS teacher's Google Drive. They just go down, click on that waffle, go down your drive, and you have this.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. You can get it in the waffle over here. You can get it by going to New and More and grabbing it here, or you can click on any of your files and choose to open them that way. Love it. Several different ways to get there. And yep, it is all in your account, so you have access to this. All right, so now you're in on your devices. You should all be seeing my Google slides. So that's been smartified. So I'm going to go ahead, and now what I can do is actually pace through this for my students. So we have our quick title here, and then I wanted to just get the students engaged right away. I want them working, learning. So I created a handout. Now on your devices, the students will have the ability to click to start. And once they do, their names will populate here. I see Becca in. Hello, Becca. As everyone's joining, I have a teacher handout over here. and I can actually walk you through what we're doing. So essentially what you're doing is you're writing a paragraph explaining what you think it means for something to be alive. You can upload a picture or two to help with your explanation. And you remember all of your tools are over here. So I'm really quickly getting my students engaged. Where's their prior knowledge? What do they think about being alive? What's it mean? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump into Amy's space here. Let's see what Amy's got. Oh, she's still working on it. So I'll move on. Let's look at Becca's, see if Becca's got anything there. We're all being very shy today. That's okay. Essentially what's cool though, is that while let's say Becca's adding stuff on here, I can actually be, oh, there we go. I see her work. And Becca, do you see my really pathetic star?
I do. I was typing, but I had to press enter for you to see it.
Yes, you got it. So yep, you have to do that. And what's cool is that you can get that live interaction. So I can, jump in and I can give feedback and we can work back and forth. There you go. She made my star larger. As we can see extremely how pathetic my fine motor skills are with a mouse. So there you go. Amy added in its breathing, its heart's beating. So anyway, it's a quick way for me. So we're going to jump into Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. And Steve. So it's a quick way for me to get my students engaged, filter through, and work with them as we go. So as I'm, again, student view, I've got your prior knowledge, you're engaged now. Let's talk about the 5 characteristics of life. So again, as I'm inking on or talking, I can ink on a screen, and you're going to see my ink show up on your devices, so I can really help direct where I want you to focus your attention. And then I can continue to move us through, and we can talk through, 1 through 5 of the reasons why. I'm not going to give us a full lesson on that. I know you're all super disappointed today. We'll go ahead and move through some of these things. So I'm taking us through the lesson. And then as I get finished with that, I want to add another activity here. So I could set up a quick a T-chart here. I'm going to put everyone on one team again today. I could do small group work if I wanted to. Right now we're going to do whole group. And I could do a fun activity with everyone. Work with your team. Name as many living and non-living items as you can in 5 minutes. So I could say start, and then I could have my students just come over here, use their text button, and now we're all working together on this. So living could be a cat. Ooh, we got some pictures coming in too. I love it. Oh, clock. Good. I was going to move that over, but someone moved that. Perfect. So now we're all working together, doing something quick and easy, and again, engaged. So thinking about, we started with a Google slide. Now I'm adding these pieces of interactivity in it, and I'm pacing everyone through this lesson. Now, because it's teacher-paced, I can move off of this, and I'm moving you on to another example. We have games built into Smart Learning Suite, and you can create easy games on the fly. So we'll show you that when we get to the creation side. But I'm going to go ahead and you can work on these independently. So these are things that I can do as a whole group, me as a teacher guide you through. But on your devices, you're seeing actually what that looks like as well. So you're sorting these through. And of course, if you get one wrong, it's going to bounce it out. And you guys, the students are just working through that on their own. And then let's say we've gotten through our lesson and I'm not quite ready to go. I had an exit ticket set up, but I want to actually get a new kind of blank page for you guys. I could actually quickly get a new blank page and I could write some notes. I could say, why is I'm going to type, I'm going to write it. So why is a cat living? So again, there you go. Why is a cat living? So what I could do really quickly on the fly is actually make this a collaborative workspace again. So you could see on the fly, you can add things in. I'm going to put us all on one team. I got a new whiteboard. I wrote a question. And I have my text tool here. So I'm going to update that. So why is a cat living? And you can see I can change some of the font here. And you guys should be able to start working on this. You can add in your ideas. I'm going to erase this. So even on the fly, I didn't have this part prepared, but I thought, we need to expand a little bit on that. Why is a cat living? They breathe. They have a body. I like it. Breathing. They eat. Yes, exactly. I love it. So again, quick, easy on the fly. And then now I'm going to jump back. and I'm going to put on my exit ticket. Now, our exit ticket is basically, again, typing through, it's going to ask you, what did you learn today? So I show you my teacher handout. You can see what that looks like, explain what you learned about the topic. And what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to put you in student paced mode, because as you're filling out your exit ticket, you might want to go back and review some of the things. So Amy, what happened when I put you into student paced mode? What's something that you noticed? You might be on mute.
I was absolutely on mute, and I'm waiting for it to put me in. I'm having some internet trouble this morning.
Amy, it put me in, and I noticed that I was down in the bottom left. I was now able to go and access any slide in the deck.
You got it. So now as you're filling out your exit ticket and you're like, oh boy, I don't remember what she told me about the characteristics of life, you can jump back through on your own pace and go back and look at some of the things as you fill out that exit ticket. So you saw teacher paced, but now you see that you can really easily switch people to student paced mode as well. So that is our quick overview of Smart Learning Suite, just what you can do and how you can take your existing Google slide and how you can smartify that. Any questions with that or any comments to add?
No, we were just saying how awesome this is, that this is already ready to go for everybody. So this is something you guys could do this afternoon if you're tuning in right now. Like, I want to try it. It's awesome.
Yes.
I agree, Rebecca. And also I wanted to say too that this was approved for JCPS use last night at the board meeting. So it's officially approved for teachers to use, and we've purchased it for JCPS for another year. So that's something very exciting that I want to make sure we share with everyone.
Awesome. I love it. So you guys already have access to this. And so for the next 15 minutes, we're going to take you through how to create an account, how to smartify your own lesson, and how to deliver that lesson. So let's get started with that. So I'm going to close out this lesson because I'm bringing you back into my original one. Now, those of you who are logged in as students, you should be seeing this file now since I switched them. Are we good there? Are you guys seeing this file?
We see the home, the intro, or okay, let's get this party started. That's what we see.
All right.
Yep.
Perfect.
Awesome. So let's get this party started. So what are we going to do? So first of all, you need to create a smart account. You actually all should, as Kathleen just said, you should already have an account, but you probably need to sign in. So in order to do that, I'm actually going to just open up an incognito window here since I'm already signed in. What you can do is just go to your Google Drive. Oh, and it's going to ask me to sign in, which is fine. Let's see. Amy Lynch, there we go. So sign into your Google Drive. And once you are into your Google Drive, a couple different ways you could do this. You could just go up to your waffle and you could go to Smart Learning Suite. And like I said earlier, you could also do that from, the new area here and more. You could get it from here if you'd like. But once you're there, it's going to take you to a page that looks like this. And you just need to choose Teacher Sign In. And you all, just to confirm, Kathleen, they're using their Google accounts, correct? You don't want them using
That is correct, yes. Google accounts.
Just use your district Google account to sign in. So it remembers me. I'm going to click on that. And once you're in, you're set. So you guys already have this set up. Like I said, it should be really easy. Just go through that step the first time, and it will make sure.
And if they do the 45-day trial, if they do see the 45-day trial, it's okay. We're getting that turned on this week, so it will go away here soon.
Okay.
And Amy, when I went in earlier, when I joined your class as a student, it was a real easy step. It went in the same way. I just clicked Google and it took me in through because I have my JCPS Google account.
You got it. Absolutely. So since you have that set up, it should be very easy for you guys to get an account or to activate your account. So that's how that's our first step here. I want to go over here. So I think we've accomplished step one. That's how you get a smart account. Pretty easy. The other way that the next thing, step 2, that we're going to talk about is how to actually create we call it SLSO, Smart Learning Suite Online, how to create that file. So basically, you're smartifying your G Drive lessons. So first things first, we're going to open up our Google Drive. After that, you're going to find a file that you want to smartify. It could be a Google slide, a PDF, a PowerPoint, or notebook. Earlier, I asked you your comfort level with Smart Notebook. A lot of the things you can pull in, if you've created stuff in Notebook and you have those saved somewhere, you can pull those in as well, and then make updates to them. So basically, find the file that you want and right-click on it, and then we're going to edit. So I'm going to walk us through.
And that's really exciting. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Amy. That's really exciting because I know many of our JCPS teachers have several of those notebook files that they've added and edited over the years. And then now maybe some of them have a Chromebook. So they could still get to those notebook files and open them with the SLSO, and they're able to use those notebook files that they've, added to for years now.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's walk you through these 3 steps for smartifying your lesson. So earlier I used the characteristics of life. I think we'll stick with that one so you can see some of the things you can do. So I'm navigating, I'm finding my file. Feel free, if you're a keener, which is a Canadian word, if you want to follow along and try this, you're welcome to. You could open up your Google Drive. You're just going to right click on whatever file you want, and you're going to choose to open with. And you're going to open it with Smart Learning Suite. Now, while that is loading, I'm going to just jump back and talk us through. I said this earlier, but again, remember, it's going to take it from this Google Slides, and it's going to smartify it and put it into the Smart Learning Suite Online icon. So your original, a lot of people ask, your original will stay the same. You'll have a separate file with all of these edits in it. So it's still loading here, depending on the size. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. I'll point out a few more things while we're having that load. So the other thing is, once it is in your Google Drive and it's been converted, you can share this with other teachers, with students. So you have the ability to not only, we were showing you today kind of all together synchronously, but you can share it asynchronously to students and to other teachers if you want to share it as well.
That's great, because right now that's a big way of how our teachers are sharing things with students during NTI, is just that share from the Google Drive, so they can share the smartified lessons as well.
Absolutely, you got it. And all those workspaces that we were doing earlier in the handouts, the students will be able to access those as well and continue to work, and the teachers can add feedback, outside of class hours. All right, so here we are. This was that Google slide, and it's now just been put into Smart Learning Suite Online. So the next thing that we're going to do is talk about how we want to enhance this. So on a page like this, I can actually convert something like this to an activity if you look down here. So I can actually make this an individual handout. Remember how we were doing some of those things ourselves? That's what I did previously when we did this lesson. Or collaboratively, that's when we were working as a whole group. I'm going to keep this one individual, and it puts it right there with a little preview. And then we could scroll around. I maybe don't want all of this on my page, so I could delete pages if I wanted to. And I could come here, and maybe I want a really simple lesson, so I'm going to just stick with the steps, and we don't need a history lesson or anything like that. So I can delete things if I wanted. Not going to go into this today, but we have this little audio button. If you wanted to put an audio of you talking and telling the students what to do, or reading what's on the page, you can do that as well. Great for accessibility. So you have that ability to add. I'm not going to show that today. But anyway, I've just deleted some of my pages, and now I can start doing some neat things with this plus button. You might have noticed it over here. So I can add all of these really awesome things. I can do a quick video. I could just do a new page and start editing or start writing. I could do a shout it out. I could do a full response assessment. You might remember the clickers back in the day. It's replaced. You can do a full response assessment here. All of those games are available here. You saw this sorting game. So there's a lot of different activities that you can add in if you want. I won't go through all of those as well, but some really fun ones too. You could do like a monster quiz, for example, where the class is racing each other. So a lot of different activities here, and we'll close that out.
Monster quiz is my favorite.
I love it. I love it. Soon they're going to have their holiday sweaters on too, so that'll be exciting. We also added all of these ready-made templates. So you saw me use some of these. We've got some KWLs, some true false, some entrance tickets, some prior knowledge things here. We've also got questioning and reflection. So how do you feel about the topic? 3, 2, 1 countdown. Again, really easy for me just to engage my students with some templates. I love these as well. So we just added all these manipulatives and graphic organizers. So if you're a primary teacher and you're looking for calendar, we've got that. Coins, we've got fraction tiles, clocks, hundreds charts. You know, there's word tiles if you're making words, music for the music teachers, number lines. You know, there's blocks and shapes as well. So you could add in some of these manipulatives. I think maybe I'll just do making words. We'll show you what that looks like in a second. And then all of these graphic organizers. And some of these you'll notice if you're an avid, at Cornell Notes, if you're an avid user, we have some Cornell Notes here. If you go to our website, you'll even see additional things like Wicker. So if you're avid and those words mean something to you, you can find those. But all of these different graphic organizers are available as well. So again, think about how quick and easy it is to put these on my page. And then once they're here, I can, again, make these activities for my students. So I can make it collaborative or independent. Anything that was a previous Google slide could be made as an activity. And here's an example of what this looks like. So I've done some things to this file. There's a lot more that you could continue to do, but I think for sake of time, we'll finish editing. And again, what that's going to do is pop me right into delivery mode. So if we think back to our 3 steps, we wanted to create an account, check, we did that. We wanted to smartify a lesson, check, we just did that. And now we want to deliver. So as soon as you hit finish editing, it pops you here. And you might be thinking, how do I connect my students? Well, over here, this little people icon, you'll see your own class code. And so you could actually have students join through your class code. So you would send your students. And a lot of times when I'm practicing this myself, I'll either open an incognito window, I'll pull up my phone, which is broken really bad at this point. And just join that way so I can test it out as a student. We're not going to do that today. It's something that I recommend you do once you create a lesson. So find a secondary device or an incognito window and just sign in, see what it looks like on the student side of things. And then
once they do sign in, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think this is important. Once they do sign in for your class, that class code stays the same for the teacher, correct?
It does, absolutely. So you get a
so it remembers it for the students. They don't have to type it each time. Once they're in, they can click on, I just did it again. I clicked on the class and it took me straight in without typing it again.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So it's easy for them to remember that. So yeah, so we have our lesson and you saw this earlier, all of the handouts and things like that we put in here are right there. If you wanted to edit this again, we have the 3 bars up here. You can always go back in and edit. You could get a share link from here if you want. You'll probably mostly do that from Google, but you could do it here. You could get a copy. There's always access to training here as well. If you want to request a feature, we love feedback, so send that out, or you could sign out from here. Also, sometimes you might notice that you have students in here that shouldn't be in here. They're maybe from a previous class. You can just quickly edit and remove any students that you need. So that is how you would connect your students to your lesson. So any questions with that? I know I'm moving a little quickly here. I just want to make sure we get through the content.
Nope, you're good to keep going. No questions.
All right, awesome. So let's keep going here. As we wrap up, I have 3 minutes left. So as we wrap up, I just want to share with you a few resources that you have access to. They're in this file, and I believe this file will be posted with the agenda, so you'll have access to it. But we have some additional resources. So we do still have the Smart Exchange. I encourage you to go out to the Smart Exchange, exchange.smarttech.com. You'll find lessons. That's where you'll find all of those Avid templates. If you're an Avid user, we've got some new partnerships and we're continuing to add more. So check out the Smart Exchange. And if you need more training, teachers get free access to our on-demand online training and to our webinars. So our Smart Support YouTube website is super awesome. If you have not subscribed, great video. You can check out all of our playlists, and you can look up Smart Learning Suite, how to use it with Google. So, we have a new features one. So a lot of great tools that are available right through our Smart Support website. You also, let's jump back here, have access to our webinars. So we have a number of former educators on our team, and they have a Ready, Set, Smart webinar series. So it looks like the next two that are on the books, so we have one that's Fostering Classroom Talk and Inquiry on November 17th. And then this one is Microsoft, so probably not something you guys want to join. But all of these are also available as after the fact as well. And you can subscribe to this as well if you'd like to do that. All of these are available actually through I'm going to jump over here and go home. And I can put this link in there. I don't think I did, but through our Smart Educator. So there's 2 channels that you'd want to subscribe to, maybe 3 if you want to subscribe to our overall one. Our Smart Educator, these are really those education focused. The Smart Support one is more of a kind of how-to training. Over here, you're going to see all of those Ready, Set, Smart webinars that are available. And these are, for former educators, or by former educators for educators. And with that, I think I've got 1 minute left. So anything else we should expand upon or any other questions?
No, this was great information, Amy. I think our teachers, especially now that they're working virtually, this will be a great tool for them to use during NTI and when they return to the physical classroom.
Absolutely. We're super excited to have you guys get started. Would love to continue to help support, because we know it can be a great tool to bridge, that at-home learning and make you feel a little bit more interactive with the students as they're learning from home.
And I encourage every teacher just to give it a try. I think once your students do their first monster quiz, you're going to find that this is a great tool and very easy to use.
I agree, Stephen. And I think, and if you have any questions, you feel free to contact Stephen Derm or myself, and we'll be happy to get those answered for you. So thank you, Amy, and Amy so much for sharing this. This is great. And we'll have this on demand for all of our teachers to be able to go back and watch it again. So thank you. I really appreciate you.
Awesome. Sounds great. We appreciate
you all. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Thank
ladies.
you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
All right, we are back with Miss Eva for our second session of the day with health services. Are you? Oh, she is ready to go this time. Perfect.
Make sure these are on.
You're fast. All right.
Are we ready?
We are. Thanks for being here again.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm going to talk about PPE, personal protective equipment, COVID-19, and specifically related to students with special health needs in preparation for coming back to school. So when using personal protective equipment, the overall approach is to minimize the risk of infection while meeting the needs of children and youth who might have special health care needs. Probably a review for every one of us, but COVID-19 is a coronavirus. Coronaviruses have been around for a long time. The common cold is actually a coronavirus, but COVID-19 is a novel coronavirus, a new coronavirus that was first noticed in 2019, which is where the 19 comes from in the name. And it's an illness that's caused by this virus that can spread from person to person. It's basically shut down life as we know it in this and other countries, and that these droplets will kind of float in the air and then fall. But depending on how loud someone is talking, how hard they're projecting their voice, whether they're singing, sometimes those particles can float a little farther. Touching infected surfaces, objects, and then touching your eyes, nose, and or mouth is another way that it's thought it can be transmitted, but we know without question that the most significant risk for transmission is through these respiratory droplets. Unfortunately, right now, and part of the reason for all the work the governor's done, the work the CDC's done, the work that's being done around encouraging people to wear masks and to not gather in large groups, is because of the spread of this virus and the fact that many people who are infected with the virus are either asymptomatic, meaning they don't have any symptoms at all, or they're pre-symptomatic, which means they're infected with the virus. They could transmit it to other people, but they don't know it yet. And so the more that's happening in this country around testing and trying to pick up on those things, the more we'll learn about the transmission. But right now we know that there's about a 48-hour window. We need to go back and look and see when somebody who tests positive has been around other people and how close they were to those people because of them being either, again, asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. So the strategies that we have in place to help prevent the transmission or the spread of this infection, apologize if you've heard this before, if you listened to the other session, but this is based on what is called the Swiss cheese model. So if you think about a piece of Swiss cheese, you know that's got holes in it, but for every slice of cheese, the holes are in a different spot. When you stack those slices of Swiss cheese on top of each other, every time you add a layer, then it's less likely for those holes to be visible, to be a weakness. And so it's the same with mitigation strategies. Each one of these bullets is a layer, another layer of protection that we offer to ourselves and to other people to help prevent the spread of this virus. And so the things that we know, the public health measures that we know that work, are social distancing, cloth face coverings, policies and personal protective equipment, screening and school exclusion, sanitation and environmental factors, and then contact tracing. So social distancing. Social distancing is that we work as best we can to maintain 6 feet of distance between us and other people as much as possible, because this is one of the primary ways that COVID-19 is spread. So what happens, we've all been away from each other since March. We've not been typically around people the way we've been to in the past. And I really want people to think through this when we do eventually get to the point where we're bringing people back closer together, because our natural tendency is to want to go be close to those people we haven't been with. We want to sit down. We want to eat with them. We want to do things with them. We want to hang out, even if it's at the work site. The problem is people forget about that 6 feet of social distance or maintaining that space. And that space is very important. So I really want to emphasize that as a factor to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, social distancing is important. And as much as possible, the guidelines are that we should maintain that distance. It's not possible in every single scenario, but we know that as much as possible, the more distance we can put between ourselves and people, the better off, the less likely the risk of transmission. So schools are working on plans that include social distancing. So every school has submitted their preliminary plans for when we do return to in-person learning, and social distance has been incorporated into that plan. Of course, that all can't be finalized until decisions are made on how many parents, all parents have made a decision of whether they're going to do virtual or in-person classes. What kind of model will the district go with? What's the point of a hybrid model? And if you've heard the talk, the presentation of plans for the district includes considering a hybrid model for middle and high school students. And the reason for that is, as much of a challenge as that is, that will be for everybody and for educators. The reason for that is to reduce the number of kids that are in school at one time. If you've got 1,000 students in your building and that can be decreased to 500 at a time, then the ability to social distance is much greater. And so we have to look at those things that include those opportunities for spreading people out. And then, of course, at the classroom level, people will need to consider individual classroom needs. Cloth face coverings are expected for all students and staff unless they're eating or drinking, or there's a medical waiver on file. So the initial guidance document that came out, I think it was in June, said that masks were not required for children who were under first grade. So kindergarten, early childhood didn't have to wear masks, first grade and above did. But that guidance has been changed. And so in JCPS, all students from early childhood on up will be required to wear masks unless there's a medical waiver on file. There's a way to flag those students who have medical waivers in Infinite Campus, and every school has been tasked with incorporating into their plan how those waivers and flags will be entered into Infinite Campus. And then there's additional personal protective equipment for different circumstances, and that's what we're going to talk about. So for screening and school exclusion, staff health checks and staff health checks, will be completed each day. Right now, everybody's logging in to the district webpage and indicating whether we're telecommuting, whether we're going to be working on site, whether we're absent. That process will be a little different when we all return to in-person learning, and we're moving toward a system that will let us, it's an electronic system, electronic health record that will let us do some more efficient monitoring for COVID-19 symptoms and cases across the district, so we can respond quicker at the individual school level. Students will have temperature checks each day when they arrive at school. Parents will, before kids come back to school, actually be given information asking them to check their children to do those health questions with kids before they send them to school, and not send them to school if they're symptomatic each day. But we'll be doing temperature checks on site for all students and staff. Per the guidelines. Anyone who has a temperature greater than 100.4 would be excluded from school if they also have that elevated temperature on a recheck. These thermometers are infrared surface thermometers, and so there are variables that can give you an initial reading that says high, but when you let a child sit for a few minutes out of the heated car, off the hot bus, and you do that recheck, that their temperature is actually normal, you were just getting a surface temperature reading. And then kids can return to school when they've been fever-free for 24 hours. The sanitation and environmental factors, hand hygiene, hand washing, and the use of hand sanitizer is very important. Again, hand sanitizer historically has not been allowed for use in JCPS. That's changed. In the spring, there was a new hand hygiene protocol that was written for the district. Students can carry hand sanitizer, the small bottles, and it should be gel or foam. That's what's recommended. It shouldn't be in a format, and as much as possible, schools, students definitely should not have access to hand sanitizer that is that very liquid, the homemade hand sanitizers that you saw, because that can be dangerous if it's consumed. But gel or foam hand sanitizer is what we encourage for students' use. High-touch areas should have extra cleaning, and then plans are being worked out for the schools related to cleaning and disinfecting. For contact tracing, just know we have a plan in JCPS. You can get your Google Drive and search JCPS contact tracing plan and see the plan for the district. That's the plan as it's written today. That will evolve. I meet with our health department once a week. We look at the process for contact tracing. They are excellent partners with us. We correspond back and forth about cases, and in saying that, we're required by law to report if a student or staff member reports that they are a case of COVID-19 or contact of a case for COVID-19. So part of the plans that will be in place for the schools is through this contact tracing plan, a mechanism for reporting those cases. So labs and healthcare providers are required by law to report positive COVID cases to the health department and to the state health department. We're required to report reported cases to the health department, and now I have to do a report every day for the state, not by individual names, but by numbers. Numbers of staff reported positive, numbers of students reported positive, number of staff reported to be contacts of cases, number of students reported to be contacts of cases. And those dashboards are actually available on the district website. So So again, social distancing, the things that we're doing, social distancing, face covering, screening and school exclusion, sanitation and environmental factors, and then contact tracing. So we use personal protective equipment when the risk of exposure is higher. And we know that nearly all people 2 and above can wear cloth face coverings. There are some exceptions for that. There should be exemptions on file when people are asking not to wear face coverings. That's something the health department is helping us with to make sure that waivers are appropriate and follow a standard process. Anything we practice and model will increase success with this, and then staff should use additional personal protective equipment for procedures that can increase the risk for exposure, which is what I'm going to talk about now. So students with asthma, staff, when working with kids with asthma, if you are supporting that student, of course, a mask, a cloth face mask is expected at all times unless the child has a medical exemption on file or the employee does. A mask and gloves should be used if the staff member is assisting with the student with administering the inhaler, and the student can be 6 feet or greater away from others, including staff. So mask should be on for gloves should be on for initially helping the student, but then when the student actually uses the inhaler, there should be 6 feet of distance if just a mask and gloves are used. A surgical or medical mask, gloves, and a face shield should be used if the staff member will be directly administering the inhaler and be in close contact with the student during the procedure. And then there's some additional requirements if administering a nebulizer. Nebulizers, as much as possible, we won't recommend that they be used in the schools where we want inhalers, the little canister puff inhalers, because nebulizers create an aerosol, a droplet aerosol, and so there's additional personal protective equipment that's needed with nebulizers. In the past in JCPS, or in the last 2 years, we've been implementing a protocol across the district for nebulizers to be able to be used with stock albuterol, because we have so many students that don't have their inhalers at school when they have asthma flares. And so the plan was this year to roll out. We actually had a grant, and nebulizer compressors were donated for each of our schools. However, now we're not going to send nebulizer compressors to all the schools because of the discouraging of use in schools. And so we're working to get inhalers instead of nebulizers to be available at schools. That's a work still in progress. When students self-administer the inhaler, again, 6 feet away from other people, inhalers that are stored in the nurse's or health office should be stored in paper bags when possible. And then stock albuterol inhalers should be cleaned after each use per the package directions. Again, students should only use a nebulizer when medically necessary. If a student must use a nebulizer, then only the student and one staff member should be in the room. Staff members should have on gloves, a mask, which would be a surgical or medical mask, and eye protection. Face shields that are being provided to all staff can function as eye protection because they're covering the eyes. After the nebulizer treatment is administered, then the room would need to be cleaned. So again, we are working very hard with families to try and make sure that there's an alternative for those students who can use an alternative to a nebulizer. The nebulizer part should be cleaned with dish soap and water after each use and allowed to air dry. And again, if a student with asthma can't wear a mask for medical reasons, they would need to have a medical waiver on file. So autism. For students with autism, staff should wear a cloth face mask, again, unless there's a medical exemption on file. Students should wear a mask if they're able to do so. We know there's going to be situations where students aren't able to, and they would need to have a waiver from their healthcare provider. But if kids can wear masks, they need to have it on. The student does not need to wear gloves. You'll see people a lot wearing gloves out in public, and I really caution people against that. Gloves are important when you're doing a medical procedure, and you should put the gloves on and take them off. But to wear gloves for general use, it's the same principle as just your hands touching items, because if you have gloves, I see people in the store a lot that are wearing gloves while they're out to protect their hands. But the problem with your hands is that the risk in your hands getting contaminated is that you touch your face. And so you could do the same thing with gloves on if you're wearing them for an extended period and you're still exposing yourself. They're really not protecting you. So the key most often, and just for general principles, is that you wash your hands frequently, or use hand sanitizer if you're not able to wash your hands. So cerebral palsy for staff, again, cloth face mask unless there's a medical exemption. If the student's in a wheelchair and requires position changes, staff should have on a mask, surgical, medical, one or the other. But when you're very up close to students, that is an additional protection beyond the cloth mask. Gloves and a face shield when positioning. Now, when you were finished positioning, when you were doffing or removing the personal protective equipment, you would take the gloves off and wash their hands. Students should wear masks if they can do so, and the student does not need to wear gloves. For children with diabetes, again, cloth face masks. I'll say that every time. If staff are performing blood sugar checks or giving insulin, then staff should have on that additional personal protective equipment. Mask, gloves, and face shield when you're in that close range for a period of time that's shorter than that 6 feet distance. Remember, these students might need a private area to check blood sugar levels and give insulin. If the student's comfortable with doing this in the classroom, then there should be an area in the classroom, and the nurse may need to meet with the nurse at the school or the trained staff somewhere other than the health office in order to avoid exposure to ill students. So in other words, you don't want to send a student with diabetes to check their blood sugar to the room where you're using as an isolation room for sick children. You want those procedures or those things that aren't involving sick kids, you want to keep them separate from the well students. If you have kids that are immunocompromised, their immune system is not fully functioning, staff, there might be times when students can't attend in-person school because of being immunocompromised, and they should have a statement from their healthcare provider. Accommodations should be made. That'll be worked out in a student's 504 plan or IEP. And they might have accommodations where they're actually wearing N95 masks to school, and we just wanted you to be aware of that in the event that you see it. People who have lung or respiratory disorders, again, mask, gloves, gown, and face shield when you're in close proximity. A mask, an N95 mask or a surgical mask, gloves, gown, and eye protection should be worn during suctioning. So students that have tracheostomies that might need suctioned would require additional personal protective equipment for the person who's doing that procedure. Suctioning should always be done away from other students, and staff in the area should be cleaned after the procedure. So the same principle as the nebulizer. When a student's being suctioned, that can aerosolize particles, and so there needs to be an extra layer of prevention there. If the student has a nurse assigned, which often students that need suctioning do, then there should be a space available in the classroom and on the bus for the nurse. And some students actually have closed suctioning systems, and those would be a little less, those wouldn't aerosolize particles like typical suctioning does. Migraine headaches, mask again for staff, and then remember that students may have an accommodation in their IEP or 504 plan that allows them to rest, and they should be routed someplace other than the area where sick students are being checked. For students with seizures, surgical mask, gloves, and face shield when in close proximity to the student and the student is having a seizure. And then other students should be cleared from the room for privacy reasons. And so if you have a student in your classroom that has a seizure disorder, if they were to start having a seizure and somebody needs to respond and doesn't have all that personal protective equipment, there should be another staff person that can help, and one person should be putting on personal protective equipment, and then they should switch out as soon as possible. For sickle cell anemia, Mask again at all times. Kids with sickle cell, the important thing to know with these students, they may have accommodations in place to rest. So the same with the other kids that have needs to be sent up to the office sometime. It should be separate from where the sick students are. And it's also real important to remember that anytime a child who has sickle cell anemia gets a fever, that can become a crisis. And so they should have a health plan with next steps, but definitely need to contact the parent or the guardian. For spina bifida, mask. If a child's in a wheelchair, any position changes that are going to bring you up close to that student, mask, gloves, and face shield when you're helping with positioning and you're really getting up next to that student. If you're actually having to physically, put your arms around a student and lift and they'll be touching your clothing, you would consider putting on a gown. The student should wear a mask if they can, and the student does not need to wear gloves. So just to talk a little bit about procedures that we do so often in schools, if a student is catheterized or needs assistance with hygiene, staff should wear a mask, and that should be a medical or surgical mask, again, because you're getting up close to the student, gloves, and face shields. The gloves are something you would typically wear for that procedure. You use that when completing the procedure. Gowns could be used depending on the circumstances. Gowns are indicated when there's a risk for splashing of fluid. So if that is a risk for that particular student, then you would wear a gown, but they're not automatically required for any time you're helping, you're catheterizing a student. Might be if you're always having to position that student so that you're picking them up or doing things that could physically touch them against your body. The student should have a mask if they can, and they don't need to wear gloves. Toileting and assistance with diapering, same thing. Same precautions. If you're up close, then you want to have at the very least your mask and a face shield, gloves when you're changing diapers. Gowns are recommended only if there's a risk for body fluid to be splashed or other things that might come in contact with the clothes. Students should wear a mask if they can, and they don't have to wear gloves. For feeding assistance, again, those items you would put on when you're very up close working with the student, the mask, gloves, and face shield when the task is being completed. When staff are working with students who are likely to bite or spit, consider wearing long sleeves or jackets over the clothing, which we have purchased gowns, both reusable and disposable gowns are available in the warehouse for people to have when you need to have that extra protection. The students should wear a mask if they can, and they don't need to wear gloves. Same with G-tubes, nothing different here. Again, G-tubes for feeding or medicines, you would use the same personal protective equipment. If you're providing hand-over-hand assistance with tasks, staff should wear a mask. Again, that surgical or medical mask, medical grade, that's going to give you a little more protection than the cloth masks. Gloves and face shields when providing hand-over-hand assist. Again, the face shields are acting as eye protection as well. Again, same as with the other students, anybody who's likely to bite or spit, consider wearing long sleeves, and then gowns, both disposable and reusable, can be available. Occupational therapy, mask, face shield for sure, gloves, gown when physically touching the student and being in that very close proximity. Make sure that each student has student-specific adapted tools and devices and that they're routinely cleaned per protocol. And then consider assessing students in groups with other providers. If you travel to multiple schools, really try and arrange your schedule so that you're at one school per day, if that is feasible. That's not feasible with every discipline, but we need to know where you are, first of all, for the process of contact tracing. And the more you can arrange your schedule to be in smaller areas or pods, which is what we work on with athletes are practicing in pods right now. If we do a hybrid model in JCPS, that'll be pods of students. And so it's that same kind of principle to limit the exposure. And then keep your groups consistent, small groups consistent. Same with physical therapy. Make sure to wear the personal protective equipment. I recommend that face shield be used. You can consider using a clear face mask, which those will be available at the warehouse as well. Make sure supplies and items are cleaned, and try to limit travel. Speech therapists should use a clear mask. So instead of the cloth masks, there's clear masks that have a see-through part where the mouth is, and those will be available in the warehouse. That clear mask plus a face shield and gloves. That face shield acts as like the plexiglass you see at the grocery store. That face shield is providing that same level of protection. Work with small groups. Limit your time between schools, and make sure that you know who you're with, and keep your groups consistent in the event contact tracing needs to happen. And very quickly, some special circumstances, biting and spitting. There's a session this afternoon that will talk specifically about safe crisis management. But kids who bite or spit, you want to have that extra personal protective equipment on. And when gowns are considered, if there's a reasonable risk of exposure for your clothes. Physical restraint, again, the same principle as with a child having a seizure. It might be that the plan is one person responds, a second person joins that can don the appropriate PPE. And again, there's a full session on that this afternoon. Just make sure that the PPE is available and that you know where it is. And then the last thing I want to talk about is ordering personal protective equipment. It's being stocked in the central warehouse. Schools should follow their standard ordering processes. Again, it's available in the warehouse. There's packages that will be delivered to the school of standard supplies that will be across the district. There's a manual coming out for schools that will give specific instructions on ordering additional PPE. We have to spread what PPE is available across the district. So it's, people need to use the PPE that's indicated and not additional PPE that somebody else may need in the district, because we've got everybody to be responsible for. And again, the warehouse is stocked. And with that, does anybody have any questions?
There were no questions in the chat, but you did get some love saying that you're doing awesome.
Well, thank you. That is so sweet. If anybody has questions, I say this with all sincerity. We're all learning this as we go. And we know COVID's not going away anytime soon. The vaccine could be available tomorrow. There's still a lot of people that need vaccinated. We don't know how well it works. We don't know how long it takes to build up full immunity. What we do know is that we're going to be dealing with this for some time. So we've got to have great processes. We can't make those better unless we hear from you when there's things that need to be fixed. But we want to do it right. So your input is valued.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Miss Eva.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. All right, guys. So we are going to head into a pre-recorded session with the amazing Jim Unger. It is pre-recorded, but he is going to be live in the chat. So if you had questions or have questions, anything Minecraft, just drop them in the chat. So it is 10:31, and we're going to go ahead and press play.
So Minecraft, if you would, Matt, I'm going to put it in the chat, but I probably won't show up, is the Minecraft website.
Okay, I'll get that in there for you.
Thanks, man. And let me share my screen and talk about this. So some of the great news, and I got some feedback from Microsoft recently, and as Matt was telling you, I'm Jim Unger with JCPS Digital Innovation, and I lead up the strategy for the district using Minecraft Education Edition. So I work with Minecraft on doing that, and I'm presenting today to you guys. I am presenting to, I'm trying to share my screen, sorry. I'm presenting to Kentucky Go Digital for the state of Kentucky on Tuesday, and then on Thursday, I'm actually presenting to Microsoft and their Council for Education about how we're using it, how we've changed during NTI, and obviously we know we've changed quite a bit during NTI. So one of the best places you can go to, JCPS Minecraft, is the site we have put together through Digital Innovation that will help you learn some of the ins and outs and some of the basics to get going with Minecraft Education Edition. It is a fabulous tool. I don't take my word for it. Mention it to your kids, your students out there. You'll certainly hear about how great Minecraft is. But it's also a great tool for education, not just engagement, not just entertainment, not just fun for the students. It is a great tool for taking any content area out there, and I can show you when we get there all the ideas we've seen just within JCPS, let alone all the ones that are out on the internet. So getting there, first of all, we know that this came out. And where did we go? Let's go here. Connect. No, don't want to go there yet. Intro. No, too easy. How to. Oh, there it is. That's what I was looking for. JCPS Chromebook. So this was the big one. And this was great because we get to see this data picture from Microsoft about our usage. And we saw that, last year, right around March, February, we had great login uses across the district. And then it dropped down due to MTI. And we know most of our students switched to Chromebooks, and at that point, there was no Minecraft EDU on Chromebooks. Now, over the summer, we partnered with Microsoft and a few other districts out there around the world to pilot the Chromebook edition of Minecraft, and it is now out. Now, my apologies. When this first came out, JCPS, we had it, pushed it out. We were requesting that you place a ticket to get it sent out to your school. The issue was so many people wanted to get it in the district, which is a great problem to have, that the district, the other IT department was like, look, we're just going to send this out to everyone, and if they want it, they can just pull it from the store. So if you go to the Play Store on a teacher or student Chromebook device, Minecraft is one of the very few items that is on there ready to be applied to your Chromebook, and then you log in with your JCPS credentials and you're there. Let me mute this tab over here. I apologize for that. All right. Now, so to get it on Chromebooks, it's already there. There's no need to place tickets anymore. One of the big issues, people say, well, I get there, I get on the Chromebook, and I can't find the Play Store. What we found is the biggest issue showing up with that is that the Chromebook either needs to be power washed or updated. If you don't know how to do that, you can contact those awesome STCs in your building, and they will help you walk through that process. Once the Play Store shows, give it a few minutes of being online. It should populate with the apps that are available through JCPS in that managed Play Store, and you can apply Minecraft Education Edition on the Chromebook. iPads, you can get that pushed out as an app. Windows and Mac devices, you simply go to the website and you download it under the support tab on the Minecraft education.minecraft.net website. All right, so lots of great information on this. I tried to distill it down for our website. The first one, of course, is why use Minecraft Education Edition? Well, it causes critical thinking, certainly communication, because there's some different ways to go about using Minecraft Education Edition. You can use it individually for students, you can put them in small groups, or you can have your entire class come together within one world of Minecraft and work from there. So lots of communication, collaboration, and the creativity is just off the charts. So we're hitting those 4 C's in education, all right? Connect. Obviously, I'm hoping you come to our website, check it out. We've got information on there. And one of the first things you see, and I will always recommend for people, is to follow @PlayCraftLearn, which is the Minecraft Education Edition on Twitter. And I just went ahead, and it is such an amazing resource. I embedded it into our JCPS Minecraft website. So one of these things, this tweet feed has so many different things that come out. I love this lesson of the week. There's lessons of the week. There's build challenges every month. Right now going on is the Build Championship, which you are able to register your builders into. I do believe it's for 8 to 18, and anywhere from 1 to 3 students can be in a group, so they can go by themselves or they can be in a group of 3. And I will hopefully get to that momentarily. But I loved this one this morning because I was at a school that was a Cambridge International school, and they actually have lessons on here where they've worked with the at Cambridge English department and used Minecraft Education Edition to come up with this lesson. And it's on here. Find the lesson here, and you click on there, it takes you to that lesson. If you go here, we have this one. It's the tutorial one. Check out the tutorial words. This is the first place I tell teachers to go. After they come to my website, I'm like, if you've not been in Minecraft, dig in, check out the tutorial worlds. They're pre-built. You walk through. They have signs and NPCs that say, hey, this is how you move forward. This is how you move left and right. This is how you put a block down. And there's 10 separate ones on that. And then you can even get into the coding. And there's 3 separate worlds just on tutorials for coding because there's so many coding languages you can work with. You can do the Tinker blockchain coding. You can do Python coding. Up that game a lot. So many different ways to look at this. You got Wilkerson, okay, and just see right here the numbers, and I can go through that feed all day and show you the great things on there. Also on this page where it's connecting, it also talks about some of the easiest and most successful ways to start with Minecraft education. What I tell teachers, they'll say, hey, I want you to come in, I've never used Minecraft, I want you to help me with my students. Well, you need to work with your students first and get them accustomed to that Minecraft world. Not every student, as hard as that is to believe, has worked with Minecraft before or played Minecraft. So have everyone get in, learn the feel of it, and that includes you as the teacher. You need to understand how that world works if you're going to have class there. It's not easy just to jump into a classroom, virtual or real, that you've never been in before. So go in, prepare that, have your classroom norms set up. A lot of those things are talked about in this, about how to get accustomed and be successful when you start, not to be overwhelmed, because it is a lot, because there's so much you can do with it. So you want to take it slow. What can we do in there? Minecraft education is a little bit different than the actual Minecraft game. Extremely similar, but it has things added to it that are specific for the classroom environment. You've got science, chemistry, resource packs with all of the elements on there, combining kits, deconstructing kits to work with the elements. There's lots of lessons on using that. You've got the code builder and code connections. You've got special blocks like the border walls, allow blocks, deny blocks, all of those things you can learn about on here. I don't want to go too in depth. If you do check out the JCPS Digital Learning channel, which is where you're hopefully at right now watching this video, you can go to our playlist section and there is a Minecraft support playlist. And I've got an episode 1, which is the basics of Minecraft. Pretty much what I'm talking about here. There's a great one, episode 2, which is on the settings in Minecraft because it can be a bit overwhelming once again the first time you go in there. So check out this short video and it'll talk about a lot of the common settings and what exactly they do, because some of the names are fairly game specific in there as far as what they can do. And then the latest video we just added is how you can share these worlds, these amazing learning opportunities with your students. So I've shown you step by step how to take a world from the internet, from coming over here, and we'll say, okay, let's go to class resources. I want to find a lesson. I'm going to click on here, come in, there's subject kits, or you can do search all lessons. You break it down, you go, okay, let's do 5th grade, let's do the environment, get some science in here, and renewable energy sources. This looks cool. I'm going to hit view lesson, click on that, see what we've got. And when it comes up, you've got assets, and the biggest piece you're going to want is typically the world file, and I don't want to download all the assets, and it's probably included in there, and I talk about that. Here's the world file. So you get the world file. How do I share this world? So I take you through in that video how to go through, share that to your kids in Google Classroom. You can take it, you can modify it, you can send it out as is. But there's also the way you can just generate a world yourself on your machine, send out the join code to your students, and as long as they have the app or the program downloaded, they can log into it. They can put a join code in, which is just 4 characters, and they can join your world so that you're hosting the class. Maybe you've built some special things into your world. Maybe you're one of those advanced users out there. You can also set up small groups. Maybe you've got 4 or 5 kids that are really rock star They can type, write text up to 50 pages in the book with the quill. You can also use a camera to take pictures or selfies of the character, of things in there, place it into the book, write about it then. Maybe you're reflecting on something you built, how you got there, whatever it may be, and then you export it. It exports as a PDF. So easy, so simple. I also recommend for the beginners out there when they're doing this and they want their kid, well, how do I see what my kids did? Just have them take a screenshot. Kids invariably know how to take screenshots on their devices, and it's a very quick way to see what they did. And then they can tell you about it also. Throw that in a Google Doc or a slide, have them type up what they did. There you go. You've got a nice piece they've done with whatever your lesson may have been. All right, halfway through our time. All right, I apologize. I'm going to keep on moving here. All right, how to help. How do I get this going? What is Minecraft Education Edition? This is on that same page. Click here. It's going to take you into these pages. You'll get your beginners in the classroom, see it in action. You can get it. I've already talked to you about how to get it. Once again, there are millions of videos out there on Minecraft Education Edition about what to do. Here's taking your first steps. All right. Leveraging the community, which is where I was showing you where you can pick up these lessons over here with class resources, find a lesson worlds. It will walk you through all of those different things.
Hey, Jim, have you explained what the difference is between Education Edition and the normal edition of Minecraft? Did I miss that maybe?
Yes, absolutely, because I'm talking so fast. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about that, why they're different, how they're different. Back here with the intro, we talked about the chemistry and resource pack, some of the different blocks that can be used that are specific to the Education Edition of Minecraft. They are very similar. Any skills that someone has from Minecraft will carry over to the Education Edition, but the Education Edition has a lot of features that are specific to a teacher and how you would use it as your virtual classroom. That's a great question, Matt, and I am blazing through this. Which is a great thing because when you have someone like me that talks so fast, you can come back and check out the videos and play them at half speed and pick up a little bit more, or check out those transcripts on YouTube. So once you go through and you get the basics down, you learn those. Here's a great one because I get a lot of questions on multiplayer and maybe some issues with settings and connecting with other people. If you're connecting your class or your students in your small groups, this is a nice guide from Microsoft on how to go through and set up different pieces, and maybe you even want to dig in and set up the IP addresses, which is really advanced. You should not need all of that as long as you're within the JCPS domain. But it will go through and show you a lot of different issues with getting connected. All right, content ideas. One of my favorites, and if you come to this with the content ideas on the JCPS Minecraft website, you will see all of these ideas on here are from JCPS teachers that have been to the training with Microsoft at the district level. And these are not just pre-built worlds. These are ideas that they came up with of how we can use this. How can we use this in world history and geography, exploration, colonization, Native American civilization, geography? You can do regions. There's packs with the blocks in there that you can set up different biomes. So that works whether it's geography or you're talking about science. You can go over the 5 themes of geography. All right. Obviously, you can just see in the background here, you've got topography going on, elevation. Economics. One of the great things I saw last year was a high school that set up a virtual business. They had several businesses going on in a little community, and they had to set up trade, and then they wrote papers about that, what they were doing, how they built it, how the trade went. It was really, it's that piece that engages students, gets them together, but is really building those ideas that they don't even catch on to. They're like, oh my goodness, I was actually learning when I did this. I really like that. And that goes back to another one. I just had a conversation with one of my innovation partners over the weekend. They were talking about how they can use Minecraft for history. And I was like, well, one of the ones I really like seeing is where they do Civil War is down here, but pick any conflict and the students are like, okay, we need to recreate this conflict, whether it's Civil War, Revolutionary War. You'd split your class in half. You guys have half the map to create whatever conditions you found through your resources, what it would look like, what the geography was at the time. And then the other group does the opposing side. So you can have colonists versus the British. You can have the North versus the South. features that they would have used in the combat. And then at the end, you just let them go at each other with the Minecraft weapons. You turn on PvP and let them have fun. What a great build-up and release on that one. So you can go through this: earth science, physics. Science plays so well into this. Math does. There's life science, chemistry. Speaking English language arts, there was a pack that came out like 2 weeks ago from the writing project that had 10 new language arts lessons and worlds in there. There's so much you can do with language arts. Recreation of plays. I love seeing that because you can program NPCs, what they're going to have. Just really visual representations, map settings, NPC characters, lit trips, sentence starters on a board. You can leave it out there and have them put up their own boards around it. It's just a fun way for them to do some of the things they've done. And once again, this is NTI, so this is a perfect time to be using a tool like this. Geometry, you've got volume shapes. My 5th grade son just did, I think 2 weeks ago, we had a volume project, was one of the choices on his choice board. And we got to work through that, and I took some great screenshots of it as he was going through it. It was a great time. But you can even find elementary, middle school, high school. You can find all the different pieces of content out there: slopes and graphing, arrays and patterns. You can build this up to any grade level. So resources, I want to touch on this one because I'm running short on time, down to 9 minutes. Coding, as I said, there's lots of coding going on. There are 3 different streams that they've basically set up now that you can go through, 18 lessons just with the block-based coding. That's like your Tinker coding, where you chain them together. They do have, like I said, there's Python coding, and I think there's a couple other coding languages, and I'm not really sure on all of them, but there's so much. And once again, with us working with Microsoft, we are going to be piloting this week, one of the only districts in the world, we're going to be piloting the new December hour of code lesson to see how it works and get some feedback from our students. That is the power that we have of working with this, and we get to participate and give feedback for these initiatives moving forward. Back to school world, these are straight from Microsoft on our website. I pull some of the best things that I can find and put them on here for you. That language arts pack that I was talking about, this is new. It's with the National Writing Project, all right? Game-based learning environment, and go through, work with writing. October Teacher Academy, this is what I'm wanting to get to. Look, if you're new, you want to use it. Maybe you've used it a little bit in the last couple of years and you want to get a little deeper on this. If you want to do this, is the first time Microsoft has conducted this, and we've been welcome to this. If you click on the register now, it'll take you to a page, and I'll show it to you. And if you get this morning like I did, this may not be safe. Continue anyways, because we live dangerously. Minecraft Education Edition Cohort. Now what this is, don't be intimidated when you get there and you see that. What it is you will earn, if you come through and work on this through October, you can earn your Minecraft certified badge for Minecraft Education Edition. Free of charge. Working with the staff, working with other teachers around the world, you will work together in this cohort, all right, to learn the basics and learn how to use this and leverage it for your students. It's a great opportunity. I cannot stress enough, because I've got so many people interested, and our numbers reflect that, which is great. I want experts. Get in there, check this out, and dig into it to learn that. Be creative. If you know the latest update, when it did come out on Chromebooks, they also brought bees with them. All right. So there was a build challenge. This one's over. This was back in September, so I need to update this. All right. But it was using them and doing pollination, things like that. Just some great lessons with those bees. Digital citizenship. I enjoyed this lesson. I actually did this one, and my son did it at the same time. It was fun to go through. If you know Agent is this little guy back here. If you don't know Agent, you'll learn him very quickly as you start doing some lessons. But he comes through, and typically he works for you. You put code in, he does the coding you give him. But in this world, since it's a pre-built one, he's been programmed to do some other things. He actually comes in and will troll you in the world, teaching about digital citizenship. And my son was like doing this build, and he was like encouraging him. And then all of a sudden, he took that TNT and threw it at this treehouse he had built. My son was like, "What?" I was quite taken that he had done that, and then it was asking questions like, how did that make you feel? Because if you've worked with this, you probably know you've seen students drop into other worlds and drop lava or TNT. and you can actually disable those destructive items. But if you have them on and someone decides to use them in a negative way, it can cause some very negative feelings. So it was interesting to see that played out in this lesson. And there's other pieces of digital citizenship. That's just one that sticks with me. But it's very interesting how they've set it up. There's another favorite of mine, which isn't on here.
Hey Jim, while you're scrolling through, we had a question from Jenny Falcone in the chat. She said, can we do a community type share with the students, the created Minecraft worlds from students? Is it possible to share those out together?
Absolutely, that's part of the build challenges. So once you get them, you can take them and send them out to the Microsoft with the build challenges. You can turn them in, you can post them on Twitter. One of the main things, if you're going to have any student names tagged to them, is to make sure you have parent permission with those students. That's just me being overly cautious, as I always am. This could be considered student work product, and at that point you want to make sure you have permission to send that out and share it. So that is a great question, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Oh, no problem. And that's certainly important with the new one. Let me find. That was a really good question. And let me see if I can find it on their feed. The month of October, there is the Build Championship going on where you can register your students. And once you register them, I would certainly, if they're going to take part and they want to get judged, I would make sure that I have, that's the September one, Global Build Championship. Here it is right here. So you can register. We go here, and it's going to ask us to register our students, get them ready. It really describes it, talks about it a lot. But of course, anything they do, they're also going to ensure that they have permission to share out pictures and things like that. And as I said at the beginning, I'm presenting today, I'm presenting tomorrow KGD, I'm also presenting to Microsoft on Thursday. One of the things I'm going to present to them is I know we have a lot of resources for students, for teachers, on how to get this and how to use it, but I also want to talk about, can they put out a parent support video or parent support documentation so we have that to share, because if we have that to share with parents and students, that's going to get much more buy-in for us to make it seem more legitimate when we're using this, because I know a lot of teachers have gotten past that point, but there's still some that say, oh, Minecraft, oh, that's just a game, and they're going to waste time on there. But for everyone to understand the power of it, and of course get that out to our parents. So I'm going to ask for that on Thursday as one of the pieces I'm asking for, among a couple other things. So that great question. I really can go down a rabbit hole on that one, but like I said, I always play it safe. If I'm going to be publishing any work for students, make sure you have absolute written consent from their parents. Just something they signed off and said, oh yes, please get this out there. All right. So many great things. And with the challenges alone, I know there's some clubs that are starting in the district. If you know about the district-wide club initiative, and my partner on Zone 2, Kathleen Receiver, started a Minecraft club. The ways you can use this are great. The students, they jump in so fast and go at it. And she was like, well, what can I use? And I was like, all you really could do is just post every month, put up what the build challenges are, and have them work on them. There's a new build challenge every month. There's so much content that's provided for you. If you don't want to go through and figure out your own, you say, well, I just want to do some science stuff. Let's see what's on here. I can pull it into my content. Let's see, Build with Bees, Life Cycle, Anatomy. This is just the bees ones that have come out. All right, you can go back through their cells. I've used this. This is an older one, I will say, because I used this like 3 years ago. A variation off of this one where they were building a plant cell versus an animal cell, and so they showed the different organelles inside of the cell. I'm a science teacher. That's where I go to. I've been using this for quite some time. I cannot recommend it enough, and it is $9.59. Check out the website, check out the Microsoft site, register for the October training, get certified, learn how to leverage it best for you.
All right. Thanks, Jim. I know Jim was hanging out in that chat, but if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We all love Minecraft on this team, and we would love to talk with you. So we are going to check if Sean is in here. Oh, she is. Hi there. So
Hello.
we are here and ready to learn about FEV. If you want to share your screen or whatever you have ready to go, we can do that.
Awesome.
And if you need those 2 minutes to prep, let me know and I can make some time up.
No, I can dive right in. I will share my screen with the slides right now. Are you able to see the FEV Tutor purple screen?
Not yet. I see just a black screen that says you are screen sharing.
Okay, give me 1 second.
You might just have to go to the tab. It's okay. Are you on one screen or two screens?
I'm on one screen.
Okay.
I'm pulling up to see if I can pull my slides up on Google Slides so it'll same application. How about now?
Yes, we see. So you'll just press that hide button and then turn on your CCs for us. And then it looks awesome. That's super cute.
All right. Looks good on your end?
It looks great. We're good to go.
Okay. So, hi everyone. Welcome. Today I'm going to introduce and walk you through FEV Tutor, which is a new virtual resource that your students will have access to, all JCPS students in grades 3 through 12. We are a live one-on-one online tutoring service. My name is Sean Cicero, and I'm an academic success coach here at FEV Tutor. So I work with schools and districts to set up and implement tutoring programs across the country. So today what I'm going to do, I'm going to introduce really FEV Tutor, provide a background on what we are, who we are, go through a live demonstration so you're able to see what the platform looks like from a student's perspective. And I'll explain how students can access the tutoring platform, how they can schedule sessions, how they can access it on demand 24/7, and then answer any questions that anyone might have. But I will go ahead and dive in. So FEV Tutor, what we do, we work to affect change in K through 12 public education. And we do that by providing data-driven, highly targeted, live one-on-one instruction. And we do that through a couple different ways. So this live one-on-one instruction, every time a student logs on to either a scheduled session or an on-demand session, they are meeting with a real live tutor on the other end. These tutors have a background in teaching and tutoring, have at least a bachelor's degree in the subject that they're tutoring in, and they go through an extensive boot camp and training on our end to make sure that they're ready to start their tutoring with any students across the country. We provide a 24/7 access for any student. The great thing about virtual tutoring is that it's extremely accessible. All the student needs is an internet connection and a device. We're accessible through computers, iPads, iPhones, smartphones. All the student needs is that internet connection. We have a family and student engagement team here at FEV Tutor. They work to do really exactly what it says in the title, to engage families and students. And so they will work, they'll contact families via phone calls, SMS messages, emails, to reach out and schedule students for sessions, check in about tutoring, provide academic consultations. We're really a team to do that heavy lifting to get students involved and engaged, and really to let them know that this is a resource that's available to them. We really work to connect to the core learning environment of every school. Our goal is to be a direct extension of the classroom. So we work with JCPS to connect to the curriculum within grades 3 through 12. So our tutors are able to connect and see what students are covering in class and how they can best support them in their tutoring sessions. We love feedback on our end. So we work to empower student voice and work to solicit student feedback at the end of every tutoring session. So at the end, after students completed their lesson and completed an exit ticket, they'll be prompted to complete a feedback form where they're asked to rate the session, rate their tutor, and leave any comments so our team can take a look and continue to improve and work on sessions every time a student logs on. And we have some reporting that I will dive into in a minute that we really work to really keep every party in the loop, whether it's teachers, administrators, parents, students. It's important. Transparency is super important to us, and I'll talk about that in 1 second. So this live one-on-one instruction we really use to extend learning opportunities and accelerate growth outcomes for students. So through our platform, we have adaptive learning style options that are available for students. We know students all have different needs, and we really work to not be that one platform that fits all set up. We have different options available for students to access for our auditory learners, verbal learners, kinesthetic learners, our English language learners. We have options available in that platform for students to work and manipulate. This live one-on-one instruction, so like I mentioned, we have a tutor that's on the other end every time a student logs on, whether it's a scheduled session or an on-demand session. And students, tutors will provide real-time feedback, but then we'll also take students' real-time feedback. So we're able to improve every session every time a student logs on. We have interactive standards-aligned content. So we follow the gradual release responsibility model. Every time a student logs on, tutors are working through a lesson, individualized lesson plan for each individual student that's standard aligned, and they're prompted to complete those exit tickets that are next on that list. The research-based assessment items, these exit tickets are standard aligned assessments that our tutors use to really gauge a student's mastery of concept at the end of every lesson. Safety and accountability is super important to us. So all sessions are recorded and available for students to review, families to review, teachers and administrators to review. Those are available in the educator dashboard, the student dashboard, the students and all parties can reference at any point. So we have I'll show you the whiteboard session and all the chat history. All communication is available for review. So PBIS and SEL is super important to us as well. Through our platform, we really work to build student confidence and create student advocacy. So this is really, we work to create a safe space for students to work with their tutor, to build a relationship with that tutor, to not be afraid to make mistakes, to work with them one-on-one, and really allow that space for students to ask questions, interact with the tutor, make those mistakes, and really get the most out of their session. We think relationship building is super important. So we have an ongoing 90% match rate where we match up the same student and tutor for every session. The same thing, having that relationship where students can work with their respective tutor ongoing really allows for students to feel more comfortable within the platform. We also have a language adaptation tool within our platform in the student dashboard, but then also in that two-way synchronous whiteboard that you see right on the screen here. So we have a Google Translate toggle, which allows students to switch back and forth between English and 40 different languages to really aid in comprehension and allow students to better access the content from start to finish of a lesson. So really what's important for all JCPS students is this live homework and coursework support that's available at all times. So 24 hours a day, seven days a week. Students have access to a tutor on demand or through scheduled sessions. We provide support through all core subjects, science, math, ELA, social studies. And we're really here to provide support to your entire district for students in grades 3 through 12. I mentioned we're connected to that core curriculum, so it's really a direct extension of the classroom. We're not replacing tutors, but we're not replacing teachers, but we're here really as that direct extension to provide support for students who might need it the most in this virtual setting and in these crazy, unprecedented times. So I mentioned this progress monitoring piece that we have. We provide weekly progress reports to all stakeholders, so teachers, parents, students, administrators. These weekly progress reports detail students' attendance, participation points, their exit ticket scores, what lessons were covered, really provides a holistic view so all parties are able to see how a student is performing in those tutoring sessions. We provide attendance notifications. If a student's ever to miss a session, we'll contact all stakeholders and reach out to reschedule a student's session at no charge to a time that works better for a student's schedule. We also provide real-time alerts and reminders. So every morning, if the student has a scheduled session, they'll get an email letting them know just as a reminder, and also 10 minutes before every session as well. I know I always need that little reminder, so it's really helpful that it's available to all students and all stakeholders. I mentioned our family and student engagement team. This is a really important arm of FEV Tutor because they provide that ongoing communication through phone calls, emails, and text messages. We want to make sure that all families and students are engaged, especially in this virtual setting. It's super important to have this team do the heavy lifting to contact families to allow for that collaborative awareness building and really empower families to opt into this virtual free resource that's available to them. This team also provides 24/7 technical and scheduling support. We have contact information, which I'll have at the end of the presentation. We have an email and a phone number that students, families, teachers, administrators can call, email at any point. And we have people on the other end waiting to help. So whether it's to reschedule a session, we forgot our login information, we have a dedicated team here to help students at any point. So at this point, I am going to dive into a live demonstration. I'm going to go a little quick, but please stop me at any point if anyone has any questions. We're happy to take them at the end. I'm going to move to here.
And just to keep you updated, no questions yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can you see this screen now?
I can. It looks like you're on the website.
Perfect. I always have to check because I've gotten deep into a demo when I haven't been sharing my screen. So
no, you're good to go.
Sorry. Awesome. So I mentioned the accessibility of FEV Tutor. All students need is that internet connection and a device. And once they have both of those things, they'll go to fevtutor.com. They'll come to this login page, and they'll go up to the login tab in the corner. Are provided with their own unique username and passwords that our team is working on creating right now and should have available for all students by the end of the day today. So they'll go in, sign in, and they're brought to their student dashboard. A couple things I'd like to point out before I dive into the session is the 2 ways to book a session and to request a tutor once they're signed in. So one way to do it is going over here to this book a session button. It's nice that it's front and center. The book session button, they'll choose a subject they need support in. They're able to upload a file, so whether a homework assignment, class assignment, right into the dashboard that both the student and the tutor are going to be able to see. And they're able to leave a comment with, I need support with exponents, and then they're able to create a schedule, whether it's they're requesting a one-time session or a reoccurring session. They're able to do that really at a click of a button right in their dashboard. And then the other way to request a tutor is this, the on-demand option. If I didn't have a tutor waiting for me right now, this button would be blue and would say request an on-demand session. You click that button, choose a subject that needs support in, and give any necessary comments. When they click connect, they're connected to a tutor within 30 seconds, day or night. Again, that on-demand piece is available 24/7 for all students. But when students have a scheduled session and the tutor's waiting for them, this button will blink red and signal to them that it's time to start a tutoring session. So So they'll click the button, join their session, and they'll be brought to a two-way synchronous whiteboard. So this is where the majority of the work is going to be done between the student and the tutor. And the primary form of communication is this chat box over here in the corner. You can see that my tutor's name is Camille. And again, she's a real life tutor on the other end right now. And she's saying hello and treating me like I'm a student logging in for the first time. I'm going to respond to her. I mentioned the chat box is the primary form of communication between students and tutors. A lot of students feel really comfortable communicating in this way in the digital age. Students are really used to it, and they really appreciate the anonymous nature of it, where they're able to really work one-on-one with this tutor in really a safe space. But we have different learning style options available to our different learners. For those students who prefer to hear what Camille's writing out loud, we have a speaker button at the top of the screen, and students can click on that button, activate the speaker, and we have a text-to-speech option where everything that's written in the chat box will be read out loud. And then for our verbal learners who prefer to speak directly to the tutor, they're able to go over here to this conference button, click on this microphone, and then they're able to speak with their tutor directly throughout the entire lesson. We find that our younger learners like this verbal option, because if they're not super comfortable typing, they're able to speak with ease straight through the microphone. And then, so this is my first time logging in to a tutoring session. Every time a student logs in for that first time, their tutor is going to give them a brief orientation of the whiteboard and the different tools that are available to them, so students feel comfortable interacting in the space before they move on into the lesson. So for our kinesthetic learners, we have some tools available, a pencil tool, a highlighter, to different colors that they can highlight directly into the text. A lot of students really appreciate these tools because they can really interact in real time right on the whiteboard. They have a text box. We have shapes if we're working on a geometry lesson. They can put right on the whiteboard, a coordinate grid. A crowd favorite are these emojis up here that they can use to communicate. And then I mentioned in my intro that we have this Google Translate toggle. Right up here, students are able to click on this and toggle back and forth between English and 40 different languages. And once students do that, everything on the whiteboard and everything in the chat box is going to be translated. So because it's an English immersion model, students have to respond to their tutors in English. So whether they're typing it in the chat box or speaking out loud, they have to respond in English. The ability to switch back and forth between these languages really helps students. It really aids in comprehension and allows students to better access the content really from start to finish. And then students who are requesting an on-demand session and need help with a specific homework assignment, or they scheduled a session and they need help with a specific class assignment, or working on multiplying exponents, whatnot, they're able to upload an assignment directly into the whiteboard with these buttons over here, share directly with their tutor. They can upload a file on their computer or simply share their screen with their tutor right over here. And so that'll allow both the student and tutor to work from the same homework assignment and provide that really direct extra support. So I'm feeling really comfortable with the whiteboard tools. I'm going to dive in and start my lesson with Camille. Our lessons follow the gradual release responsibility model. All lessons are standard aligned and follow this I do, we do, you do, followed by an exit ticket. These exit tickets, like I mentioned, are standard aligned assessments, typically 3 to 5 questions long, that tutors and our instructional team will use to gauge a student's mastery of a concept. So if I get this perfect 100% score, that's going to signal to the tutor, okay, Sean has a really great understanding of order of operations with exponents. Next time she logs on, we're ready to move on to the next lesson. So Camille's going to work with me both in this whiteboard space and in this chat box. She's introducing the concept that what we'll be covering today, this order of operations with exponents, and then she's going to check in with me and activate my background knowledge over here. Throughout the lesson, she's going to guide me, especially during the I do portion, where it's going to be a majority tutor-led, but she's really going to work with me by asking me questions, having me interact, work with me, have me write on the whiteboard, which you'll see in 1 second, to really just engage that student from start to finish. So whether it's a scheduled session and they're covering a specific concept in a targeted tutoring session, or even during homework help. Camille is here, and all tutors are here to really guide a student from start to finish and really make sure that they have a firm understanding of every concept every single time they log on. So I'm going to give it a go and interact right here on the whiteboard. I'm using a mouse to write on the whiteboard. I've used a mouse pad. Students really like to use their fingers, like if they're on an iPad or a screen device, or students could put a text box right here to interact as well. So I'm going to work with Camille throughout the entire lesson, and you'll see from during the orientation, and as soon as I finish this problem, she's going to award me some participation points. All tutors are going to award participation points to students throughout the entirety of the lesson. You'll see over here, she said +1 point. Tutors use these to really encourage active engagement from start to finish of every lesson. Students earn these points by asking questions, interacting on the whiteboard, making mistakes, checking with Camille, talking through their process. It's a really great way for students to gauge and keep track of how engaged they are in a session. It's a great motivator. These points are located up here, but it's also a great tool for both parents and teachers. They're able to see how engaged students are in the lesson, and we've seen parents use it as an incentive and award extra screen time, or we've seen teachers use it as bonus points. It's a great motivator for both students and all parties involved. So I'm sorry about that. Awesome. So I'm going to keep working with Camille throughout the entire lesson. I do, we do, you do. I'm going to have more responsibility as a learner throughout. And I'm going to, until we'll get to the end, I'll take an exit ticket that Camille will assign to me to really gauge my mastery of the concept. And at the end of the lesson, all students are going to be prompted to fill out a feedback form. I mentioned that we really work to empower the student voice and solicit direct feedback from students. And we'll do that at the end of every session and have students rate their tutor on a scale of 5 stars, rate their session on a scale of 5 stars, and leave any comments. So all of these sessions are recorded, so students have the opportunity to go back and review the session at any point, see that whiteboard, see that chat box, and then they're also able to see their session recordings and their session ratings and their comments. We have a quality assurance team here at FEB Tutor that's dedicated to, like it says, ensuring quality every single time a student logs on. And so anytime a student rates a session less than 5 stars, our team automatically goes in, reviews that session recording, reviews student feedback and comments, and then we'll work to make any necessary changes. So whether it's a pacing issue or, any issue, that we're really here to ensure that quality. So every time a student logs on, whether it's this scheduled session or homework help, they're receiving a top-notch session from tutors. So that's a brief demonstration of what the student experience looks like. And as you can see, I went back to the dashboard just to show you what that on-demand button looks like. And again, that's really it's 24/7 and available for students. And when students click that, they're connected to a tutor within 30 seconds. And they're able to cover, like I said, a homework assignment, if they need a review in a specific concept. We have tutors available at all times, ready to assist students in whatever they need. And so there's a couple ways for students to get started with FEB and to start taking advantage of this resource. Students can email our support email address, which is that family and student engagement contact email that I mentioned, at ky@febtutor.com, or call our team at this number provided and let our team know what preferred days, times, and subjects that they need support in. They're also able to email this address with any specific homework assignments that they need a tutor to help them with if they have a scheduled session coming up. If they have a concept, I need a review in multiplication, our team is able to take that feedback, communicate with our tutors, and have that ready for students before they log in. We also are going to be sending out a weekly lesson sign up directly to students and families, so they're able to create a schedule, again, in a one-click, scroll down, choose the day, time, subject that they need support in, and then they'll receive a confirmation email within 24 to 48 hours, confirming their schedule, confirming their lessons and their tutors. And then I mentioned they're also able to go in directly to their dashboard, book a session, or request that on-demand session. So our goal is to be accessible for students and to provide these different ways that students can log on, request a session, get that on-demand support. We want to be a resource, an extra resource and support for these students who are at home and just might need some homework help, coursework support, bridge some learning, some skill gaps. We want to be here to, again, really support them and help them grow in any of their subjects and classes. And we definitely wanted to share with you all to let you know that this resource is available for your students. And please feel free to refer them to FEB Tutor to point them in our direction. But I'm able to keep you in the loop if you have students that you'd like to refer. We'll send out a teacher referral form. So if you have a specific student in mind who would benefit from some extra support from FEB, you're able to leave their contact, their name, their contact information, and our team will reach out to them and work to create a schedule. We'll provide an academic consultation and get them set up in a specific schedule, specific subject, and schedule them for anything that they might need some extra support in. I flew through all of this and I feel like I've been talking super fast and jumbled. If there's any questions, definitely feel free to ask them now, but this is my contact information on the screen. Feel free to email, call me at any point. And then this is our 24/7 support email as well. And so this team is dedicated to answering all questions, getting students scheduled for their tutoring sessions, troubleshooting technical issues. Just want to really be clear, like we want to make sure that we are a resource for the JCPS community, and we are here 24/7 to help you, to help teachers, staff, administrators, to help your students. Again, we're this extra layer of support and definitely are ready for you and your students to take advantage and to use us. If there's any questions, I know I have a couple more minutes, but definitely feel free to ask.
Okay, so thank you so much. There are no questions in the chat, but we had Stacy Edelman pop in and say that she's so excited to have the support for our students and families, and just happy to have you guys with us. But there's no other questions. And then this session will be on demand. So all of the information that Sean went over and all those phone numbers and emails, you'll be able to access that on demand afterwards. But anything else?
That's it for me.
All right, sweet. Thanks so much for coming, and we'll see you next week, I think. You're on the schedule. Same time, same place.
Yes, and this afternoon.
Yes, same. Yes. All righty.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, JCPS. I actually, this was my first time hosting, and I did a terrible job at introducing myself every time. I'm Rebecca Reynolds. I'm a part of the Dig In team. And later today, after we have lunch, which I am starving, hopefully you didn't hear my belly growling the whole time, we are going to head into MTSS, and Matt is going to be hosting one big hype train that I'm seeing on that hashtag JCPS Dig In hashtag is our backpack refresher. So be sure to check that out. 1:30. Get those tweets out with that hashtag JCPS backpack. And if you have not yet, please be sure to head to our channel, and I'm already subscribed, and click that red, our backpack refresher. So sorry guys, click that red subscribe button it will be read for you guys to subscribe. We just hit 7K, which is so exciting, and I see we're already getting higher. So share that out. We've got some action happening on the Twitter. I sound like a grandma. Anyways, I shared out that link for you guys to check that out on our YouTube, and then we will share our link for the afternoon session. It will be on the channel. But we have about 2 minutes left, and I don't see any questions, so we're going to end our stream, and we will see you back later today. Bye.